Welcome to the Scam Economy with your host, Matt Bender.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Scam Economy Post Show. I am your host, Matt Binder, and this is the Scam Economy Post Show. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Bennett Tomlin. I hope it helped explain everything going on with Ethereum a little bit. Happy Ethereum Merge Day if you are celebrating. Delicious cake, by the way. The phone lines are open. Feel free to call in. Just fire up Skype. Type in Doomed Live, one word, Doomed, D-O-O-M-E-D, Live, L-I-V-E. No space in between. And I will take your calls and we'll have a little bit of fun here for the next hour and a half or so. Let's see. As always, patreon.com/Matt Binder to support this show. While I'm at it, let me shout out first, let's take a call. Why not? Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Matt, it's Tony from Texas.
Hey, Tony, how are you? What would you like to talk about?
Well, let's start off with your Scam Economy logo's missing from the corner of your screen.
Oh, right. I started not putting the Scam Economy logo because I never knew how these conversations went on the post show, so I kept it open.
But I think each night still deserves its branding, even if the live half conversations can go whatever way they go. Like for clips and stuff later, it's kind of nice to know. Oh, was that a Scam Economy night or was that a doomed night when that conversation happened? That's all I'm saying.
All right. Maybe I'll throw it up. Let's see. Where is it? I don't even know where it is right now. Oh, here we go. There you go. Boom.
And Emmy, you're not late. You're just on time.
Right, because you can always go back and catch the replay of the episode. You're just in time for the live show if you're just tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saved you a seat. So what I guess the thing I wanted to talk about was how I don't know, funny, delusional, what it is that that all of these major crypto bro advocates and stuff, and these like libertarian bros talk about crypto like it's some big divergence from what capitalism already does.
Oh yeah,
right. When it really just like takes the like some of the most like vile parts and like harmful parts about capitalism and like distills and concentrates them in a really obscured way so that it sounds like it's supposed to be like solving these problems that like are like invented issues. I don't know, like it just is a whole it almost reminds me of like listening to Jordan Peterson say something.
Yeah.
Like he'll say something that can be basically distilled in like a very simple sentence, like in layman's terms, but he'll use all these like $10 SAT words in like some huge run-on sentence to make it sound like really, really important and like well thought out or whatever. And
it's purposefully, it's purposely spoken about as if it's this. Not even spoken about. It's purposely created to be complicated, like overly complicated for absolutely no reason. And yeah, I mean, you're spot on.
Yeah, and to chat, sorry for saying that name. It's a bit over my shoulder, JPP. Like, sorry for uttering that that man's name, but yeah, like, so like I guess the thing that it really gets me thinking about is the importance when thinking of new ways of organizing our economy and our society and things like that, um, is being vigilant in not replicating the same self-destructive tendencies that we're trying to get out of and get away from in capitalism. So that's my food for thought. Throw that out there for you and everybody. Be mindful of uh, it's not enough to just critique this system that we're in and go, oh well, that's bad, let's do something else. Really think about because I mean capitalism in a lot of ways has replicated some of the worst aspects of feudalism that it was supposed to be an improvement upon, and now we've got concentrations of wealth and power like no feudal king ever saw. So how do we set up, you know, a system of incentives and obligations and that doesn't lead to that kind of concentration of power.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
what
that's a great point. No, I mean you got it. You got it.
you. Anyways, I'll let you take some other calls, and thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for coming. I mean, I think that's also like a really good. I think that was a very good, breakdown, especially after the episode we just had, where with these changes to Ethereum, there are people who really think that the only problem people had with it was the environmental issues and not the fact that it's just rampant capitalism at its very worst. It's not even, and in the case of crypto, it's not even creating any sort of product or service. It's pure speculation. It's not even putting anything out there.
Yeah,
But yeah, thanks for the call, Tony, and great call too.
appreciate it. Catch you next time.
Take care. Bloop bloop. All right, let's go back to the phones. Oh, someone who was calling in just hung up. I'll wait for them to call back in. But let me shout out the patrons. Let me shout out the folks who joined the Patreon who signed up at patreon.com/mattbinder since the last episode. And Philip R., thank you so much for becoming a patron, folks. Like I said, patreon.com/mattbinder. September's been a unbelievably slow month when it comes to patrons. Don't know why, but it is what it is. Maybe people are just settling back into the work and all that stuff. Well, we'll see how it goes. Over on Twitch, let me shout out the people who've become Twitch Prime subscribers. Got a caller. Let me take the call first. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's your name?
Oh,
Where are you
nice.
calling from?
This is Trey from Texas.
Hey, Trey from Texas. What would you like to talk about?
Hey, well, I see that you're talking about cryptocurrency. I was wanting to talk about something a little bit different, which I can try to talk about cryptocurrency. I have a buddy that's really into it, but I
You do
wanted to
not.
talk about
You do not have to. This show is open mic here. Talk about whatever you'd like. What would you like to talk about?
yeah, religion, if you don't mind.
Oh, so you do want to talk about crypto?
Right? Man, that's
Go
so
go
true.
ahead.
Well, I want to make the argument that the more religious you are, the less progressive you are. And I want to
Yeah, I mean, it depends, but go ahead. I'm ready for it. Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I think it has a lot to, well, I think religion comes into play with I guess the big question, like, why can't Democrats come up with something for abortion, for example? Why didn't they come up with something? Why can't they come up with a solution now? And I think it's because they're all a little bit religious. And I think it's because at the end of the day, sorry, I'm walking around.
No,
My
no, go ahead.
my kids are going to sleep.
Oh,
Um,
that's why I do this show at 9 o'clock at night every time I go live, because I gotta wait for the kids to get to sleep. So I get it. Don't worry about it.
oh yeah. Okay, cool. So you're on the same page with me on that.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's basically why I think that they haven't done anything, is because they kind of think that at the end of the day, when they die, God's going to have it all figured out. And I think that they secretly, a lot of Democrats, um, kind of believe that, and they kind of also kind of don't want abortion either, and they just don't want to admit it. And I would say even that the country is more conservative. Would you say it's more conservative? Would you say that
Um.
the U.S. is kind of like a Christian nation, so to speak?
I wouldn't say it is, but that's what those a subsection of people in this country do believe, and unfortunately, I do think that those people are the ones who are in power.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're the ones in power. Right, I got you.
I
Which
would
is
say
exactly
I
why.
would say there are a fair amount of um, agnostics, or actually more so people who are actually part of a organized religion but are non-practicing. You know,
Yeah, and and that's fine, right? You can believe what you want to believe, but I kind of under the impression, especially now, that even kind of playing with the idea that there's a magical being on the other side, so to speak, even playing with that idea kind of capitulates to these people, and it kind of gives them a reason to keep believing. It's kind of like for guns, for example. If we have gun laws and we don't have gun laws out there, that's like, or if we have a culture that likes guns and we have movies that have guns in it, for example, how do we, it's kind of, it's the same comparison. Like, you either are all in on it being true or not. You know what I mean? And if it's not true at the end of the day, if it ends up supporting right wing or extremists that people want to say, which my opinion is you're either religious or you're not. I don't think the extremist has anything to do with it, but I think I guess what my point is here is even kind of playing with the idea that there's an afterlife, that there's a plan at the end of the day, is kind of almost kind of playing with the idea that Santa Claus is real. Like, well, I can't prove that Santa isn't real, but you never know. And I think that's ridiculous.
well,
You know,
excuse you, Santa Claus is very real.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, I just think that at the end of the day, it's not real. And if it's supporting these people, even down to the point where Democrats, I really think that's why we're not coming up with climate change bills, for example, because I really do think that they think that God has given them the earth to have dominion, and that at the end of the day, that God's going to have it figured out. And I think that that is a huge problem. And I think that we should all, progressive especially, start calling it out. And you either believe that the earth is 4,000 years old or you don't. And 40%, I think 40 or 49% of the American population, I think, feels that way, that the earth is 4,000 years old, which goes in line with the Bible. So, I mean, I think that we need to start really kind of calling it out for what it is, and it's a fantasy. And it only kind of puts fuel on the fire for these right-wing extremists, which are only going to use God to justify everything, which is the only way that you can, really. That's the only way that you can justify going in and shooting a bunch of people, like the Dairy Queen thing that's recently happened. But yeah, I mean, that's my point, is I think that the more religious you are, the less progressive you are. And the more that you are inclined to think that, there's somebody at hand that's making decisions at the end of the day, you're less disinclined to make decisions that are going to, affect the following generations, so to speak.
Right. I mean, I think there's definitely something to that. I wouldn't say that's everybody, but for sure there seems to be a here's how I look at it. And again, this is people who are religious can feel this way too. So I don't think this is down to the religion line. It's more so like how much do you let religion run your life, which there are religious people who don't feel this way, or then there are religious people who do feel this way. Like if you only react or act out in this world due to what religion has determined you need to do or act so you can then you know get your prize at the end of the at the end of the game, uh, you know
Hmm.
get into heaven. Then
Well, I think that's the game, though. At the
I
end of the
think
day, that's the
that's
game.
yeah. But I mean, there are people I think who they truly do believe in being a good person because it's the right thing to do here on earth, regardless of whatever um you know
Yeah, my point would be then what's the point of religion then? What would be the point of having it other than it being fuel for the people that actually believe it and will
right.
put violent actions that are actually that are proposed from the actual text themselves
Right.
to
Well,
do it, so
I think there are people who probably
my
need
point is like whatever benefit you're getting out of it, I think we need to come to the terms of that benefit doesn't outweigh the actual reality of us not being able to pass climate change, because a lot of people, and I would say a majority of them in the US, think that the world is their dominion and has been given to us because it's been ordained by God. And I think even at the end of the day, even people that are really progressive when it comes to it and they die, they're hoping that there is something on the other side. So I think at the end of the day, it comes down to people being afraid of dying. But you can have somebody that is a great person that's doesn't has their religion, trample over other people's rights. But at the end of the day, if they feel like there's a God there that's going to be judging them, then at some degree, they also think that the world is going to be taken care of, and it's not going to be. It's up to us, at least in terms of sustaining human life.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are people I
But
think who do need that something to help them understand the world and explain things. Um,
well, then just pick up a book. Then I
yeah,
mean, there's
it's
so much
not
stuff out there
easier.
that's
It's not.
inspiring.
Yeah, it's a lot easier said than
I
done, though.
got you.
Obviously,
Yeah, I know. Right? Obviously.
listen, I'm on your, I'm in your line of thinking for sure. But I also think that's a rough thing to argue,
I think it's something we
to
should we
convince
should
people.
address as progressives, though, because I think that's going to inevitably put us in a loop. Um, because I think that us going around and some of us halfway pretending, halfway not. Well, maybe he does exist, maybe he doesn't. I think that only at the end of the day caters to the people that really are crazy about it and will really put violence into it because they're sitting there saying, well, I know that they don't really believe it, but they're still giving me they're still kind of giving me some breadcrumbs here because they still pray for dinner, even though they don't believe in God. You're still giving them that little bit of idea. And my only point is, and to wrap it up, is the more religious you are, the less progressive you are. So, I mean, that's all that I would say about it. And I think it's very simply put that way.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, definitely think that there's something there for sure. Again, I just think it'd be hard to go about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. Like, how would
like
you
to
even do
convince
that? Like,
people, like yeah,
yeah,
to go. Yeah,
exactly.
it's a non-winning endeavor.
Yeah.
I think the best way to go about it is to probably not bring up religion at all, and that's just how it goes. Honestly, like
Yeah.
don't even approach the subject. Just argue your points from that scenario of we're here on Earth and it's the right thing to do, helping people and making sure everyone has the same quality of life, and that quality of life is good, obviously. Um, I think that's much easier sell than like yeah, life would be better if you stopped believing in Jesus Christ.
I mean, we could have signs and picket signs. I mean, we could just do the app, do the like a progressive Hillsborough, where we can go and just, instead of using racial epithets, we could just call them progressive woke terms.
Right. Right.
Just
Yeah.
protest them. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. It would be impossible, but I'm just saying I think that may be why there's nothing getting done with climate change or even the abortion debate. And when we question, like, why isn't anything getting done, if you can kind of wrap it back to, well, do they think that this is all going to be taken care of if they die? Then that's probably what it is. It's probably just the notion that the world has been given to them. And at the end of the day, God's going to come back at some point during the apocalypse, which everybody wishes for some reason. I think that's why. I don't know. I just think people need to just start aggressively approaching it and not give them the time of day. I think we need to be anti-religious, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm a little bit with you on letting people like not talking about it, but I think people need to be challenged with their ideas. And if they really want to propose an idea out there that is bleeding into legislation, be bleeding into schools, like in Texas, for example, we have to put in God we trust in the schools with signs. That bleeds into real life stuff. So, I mean, it's either we can sit back and say, okay, we're going to let this religious person have their thoughts and beliefs, when the thoughts and beliefs kind of revolve around spreading their word and then being violent about it. I don't think that we should turn the other cheek, so to speak, no pun intended. I don't think that we should be doing that at all. I think we should be approaching it aggressively. Anybody that believes that there's a God out there should be treated just like as if there's a flat earth. I really do feel that way. And I don't think that it, just because it helps them in their daily lives, means anything. I mean, if it ultimately ends up meaning that we're not doing anything to, put bills into legislation for climate change because we think God's going to clean it up, then that's a problem. It needs to be approached aggressively. And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really, honestly, like, yeah, there's definitely that overlap there, but, I don't care if someone believes in religion or what religion they believe in or any of that, as long as they don't, do what you just mentioned and like use that religion to determine, law and real world actions and
Well,
things like that.
usually if they do it, it is because of that, though.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
there is I think we'd be a lot worse off if that was I'm sure it's a very large portion, but if it was the vast majority, I think we would be way more screwed than we are. So I don't know. Maybe that was how it was. I don't know. Um,
yeah,
I
I don't know.
I don't know.
I just see
It's
a lot of religions down here.
right. Here in in where I am, it's not. I mean, obviously there are religions, and I'm also from an area. I mean, I'm in New York City, where like the largest like religion is probably, Catholicism, Catholics, and yes, while the Catholic Church is very backwards. Most Catholics seem to not be on board fully with, um, at least here in like this, the liberal cities, on board with what their church believes, to be quite honest. Obviously, I say that fully aware that it's the Catholics on the Supreme Court that helped, make the decimation of Roe v. Wade possible. I didn't say all Catholics.
They're the effective ones.
Right. Just like how a lot of Jewish people are, people who believe in Judaism and Jews are fairly progressive usually. But then you get to like, the Orthodox Jews and the Hasidic Jews, and you get very, very conservative, like full on board, as pro-Trump as you can get. So, I mean, again, it's always dependent on various different things going on there. It's not, a broad brush to paint with. But
Yeah, well, no, the broad brush that you can paint with though is just the notion that any of this is real, and that none of it has to be proven, and that it's offensive when you bring that up. And I think that that is a stroke that can be used across all religion, and I think that it's inappropriate, especially with the allegations that are being proposed on all sides on from every religion,
right, right. Listen,
especially when
I'm a non-believer as well. I don't use the term atheist because I don't like atheists. Um, not because of what they believe, but because how it's been sort of hijacked by that sort of new
yeah,
atheism
yeah.
we see from various individuals. Um,
To be
but
honest with you, I'm probably caught up in that in the new atheism. I love Christopher Hitchens, and I get flack for that, but I think that that's the approach it needs to be handled in.
Well, no, the new atheists are more so like I don't know who that person you mentioned are, but like folks like like Sam Harris, for example.
Oh no, no, I
Yeah,
hate Sam Harris. Yeah,
like the
no,
Islamophobes, like the people
yeah,
who I again I don't have a problem with religion if it makes life easier for people. Um,
I can agree with that.
as long as they, or if it even enriches their life, that's another aspect of religion too, that the community aspect that people seem to derive out of it. I've never gotten that out of any specific church
Yeah, I
I
haven't
belong
either. I've
to.
been a part of a lot of religions.
Yes, but I know
Never
there
got
are,
that.
but I know there are people who their lives revolve around going to church or temple or the mosque, and their activities outside, outside of work include that, and their social life has to do with that, and the people they know. So again, don't have a problem with that. That's fine.
Yeah,
Could even be a good thing. But I see what you're saying, and I agree with those parts. It's just
yeah,
the problem of going about it is going to be difficult because
yeah.
you can't just approach it like that. If
Well, I think that I think the extremists that some people would say have ruined it for the bunch. The game. I don't want to say it's a game, but the festivities are over. Like there's people out there using this material, this old material, to justify some of the most craziest things that no normal person would do unless it was ordained by a god. So I don't think that it's even worth keeping around. If that may be true, that may have a lot of benefits, but I think that focusing on why is that the benefit? Well, we get together and we like that and we enjoy that because we're humans and we like to get together, and that when we enjoy that has nothing to do with God. And I think that those conversations, you're right. How do you start having those conversations? You're going to piss a lot of people off. But I think that that's how we get out of it. To be honest with you, I think that's what's keeping us stuck, is that mentality. Because, like you said, even if you do get something good out of it, at the end of the day, I think, especially with my personal opinion, that climate change has not been addressed because of religion. I think that right now at this point, I don't really care if it makes somebody feel good. It's going to ultimately end up destroying things, based off of things that can't be proven. It's like it's just like if somebody was taking heroin and they thought that well, this enriches my life. Well, you're destroying other things, and that's kind of a loose comparison, but
yeah, I don't know if I
um,
would. I don't think that's direct because we have just mentioned that there are some benefits to organized religion, not necessarily the beliefs, but like the things that the community aspects and things like that.
I
Um,
can agree with that. But I'm
yeah,
just saying that that's not
I don't
because of religion. You
I
know
don't
what I'm
I
saying?
don't I don't know if doing cocaine has
No,
any
obviously
benefit
not. No,
whatsoever.
I just off the fly trying to figure out
Listen, I've met some great drug dealers, good people, from my cocaine habit. Okay.
right, and they've enriched my life, so that's all that matters.
No, I think it was a very interesting discussion. I'm on board with the overlap the wider point. It's just I'm also being very careful about how someone could address this, especially if you are in politics. Like
Yeah, or
it'd
who
be the
somebody that has a
end of
YouTube
your
channel.
like it'd be
Sorry.
like, and I wouldn't if I was a politician and I like not even like worrying straight up about like, oh, my political career, but if I simply wanted people to listen to me and help those people, you
Hmm.
can't just throw all their beliefs out like that, you
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean?
How would you, like, honestly, like how
Right.
would you even start to approach that? That's, yeah, I know, and that's like the biggest hurdle because it's so ingrained in everybody. But I think it does start with progressives just challenging it. If somebody wants to pray at dinner, say, I don't want to pray and I don't think that we should pray. I think it should be approached that way instead of just letting the person pray and being quiet about it.
Right.
I
I've
think
honestly
little things
never
like that.
see. I don't. Where did you say you were from again? You don't have to give me an exact town or
Texas, man.
something.
I'm straight from the
Okay. So
Austin,
see.
Texas. I lived in
Listen,
Houston.
I am in my cosmopolitan big city lib bubble in New York. Born and raised in Queens.
Yeah, man.
I've visited other places.
Come down to
Um,
Texas during Thanksgiving. There'll be a never-ending abundance of prayer.
See, I've never been to Texas. In terms of the South, I've been to Louisiana, but I don't know if many people would count New Orleans as a good example of how things could be. I've been to Florida, but again, I don't know if Disney World is exactly the proper. So I've not been a part of experienced the American South all that much. So I've also not really been subject to a prayer revolving, like, I went to, as a child, I went to Catholic school and we would go to, we'd go to church every now and then. And, we'd pray in the classroom in the morning, but just like, our Father who art in heaven, nothing crazy. That was pretty much it. Like, we did
Mm.
like prayer. Our lives didn't revolve around prayer. I don't think I've ever prayed before a meal before in my life. I was an altar boy too. I was an altar server when I was a kid. Like
Oh
I was,
man, so you lit the candles and everything, or what?
yeah, yeah. We
Oh
held the,
man, me too.
yep, yep, yep. And like even then, like again, outside of the actual mass,
Hmm.
religion never really, and again, maybe the 2 minutes of prayer every morning at school, religion, and obviously a religion class. But I think that's fine. I actually think it's good for people. People should learn about all religions and non-religion as well. I think people should understand all of that more so in like a historical or a social studies type setting.
Hmm.
Um, so like I've not had that experience
Well,
where
then, you kind of open up my eyes a little bit because maybe I'm in my own bubble because maybe I'm just so surrounded by it. I feel like it's inundated in everything, which it may not be, but I just feel like at the end of the day, if you ask a majority of people, they're hoping that there's a God on the other side. At the very least, they're hoping for one. You know what I'm saying? And I
but
think,
I think a lot of people do believe that, even if they are non-religious in every other way,
right,
shape, and
I
form.
agree. And I think that that's what perpetuates the problem, to be honest with you, because it's still the last kind of like, it, it just leads credibility to the notion, like even just simply people being afraid of dying and hoping that there is a God on the other side, which I think again leads to the belief of, well, we shouldn't really do anything about climate change because the earth is going to be figured out anyway. I feel
Right.
like people ultimately, especially politicians, especially the Democrats, because I think Democrats are honestly Republicans, they're all the same in that regard, in terms of religion. And I think that's why nobody's agreeing on anything, because nobody really wants to do anything. And then the abortion comes up with that as well. but
Right.
but
No,
yeah.
great call. I think it's an interesting topic that's, I think difficult for a lot of people to wrap their head around, honestly. And
Yeah.
and I've brought this up before, and it makes me sound probably way too optimistic and like, like a Disney character or something. If a Disney character was to be a non-believer, but like I believe in just being treating people good here on Earth, because we're all here for a very short time, and that's it. And that's what I go by. If I'm proven wrong one day when I die, and I ascend to heaven or hell, and
Hmm.
angels or God greet me, and or the devil himself,
What are you gonna
then
ask him?
I will be wrong and okay. But
Well, see, and
I
that's it's like, but they expect to be forgiven, and I think that that's where some of it is just crazy because you obviously don't hold that thought, but a lot of people do. They think they're going to be there at the gates and they're going to be forgiven of things, which is I think why a lot of the shit is done
I think
because they
people
think
are
that it's all
just.
going to be forgiven.
I think people. I think it all just obviously, and this is not like some big revelation, but this is an obvious thing. But people are just scared of death, and
That's
so
right.
that's what all this is. And I think I've never really the way death affects me is the idea of not seeing the people that I love here on earth anymore. That's a sad
Hmm.
thought. But in terms of like me actually dying and like what happens after, don't care at all. Am not afraid of it. Am not thinking
Hmm.
twice about it because quite frankly, I believe there is nothing. And like you can say, oh, nothing, isn't that scary? No, because there's not even the feeling of being
Yeah,
scared or
right.
fear.
Were
It
you
is
scared before
literally
you were born?
exactly. It's just like the absence of everything. And
Hmm.
maybe again here on earth, if you're in your earthly body thinking of that, you have feelings about it and it could be scary, but I've I've understood it in the way where it's just like there's nothing to even like it's not something to be scared of, or it's just
Hmm.
nothing, which
Right.
is fine with me. I mean, when it
Not to
happens,
a
it
Trump
happens.
supporter. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
That uncertainty is not good with them. But you
Hey,
know,
life is not as honestly. I don't think it's all as complicated as human beings would like to make it. We are created based on biological means here on Earth, and we live our lives. And when that life comes to an end, that's it. That's just how it is. There's no greater purpose. That's very pompous of us to think that there's some like
hmm,
like it is what it is.
yeah.
Uh, Hell, I think the idea of life in outer space in like galaxies beyond ours is way more interesting to me than the afterlife,
Oh God, yeah.
because that's something that is 100% real. Because
Right.
again, it would be very pompous of people to just assume that we're the only intelligent life out there. When we know there are never-ending numbers of planets and never-ending numbers of galaxies, like of course there is life out there. That's much more believable than there must be an afterlife for us because humans are so important.
Right. Well, there would still be a narrative woven into that. Once we do find life, there'll be a religious narrative woven in. I'm sure in some way. And in some ways, a lot of people's lives will be broken down if once we find if we're able to find life, if we last that long.
Right.
Um,
But
but
again, it would be I would find it quite comedic. I would enjoy it. In like a ironic way. Like I would mark out for the irony, not the fact that there would be. If I die and I'm greeted at the pearly gates or something, I would find it hilarious. That like, damn, those motherfuckers were right.
dang, the devil's so good, man. It tricked me.
Like I wouldn't be like, oh yes, it's real. I'd be like, those
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
yeah. Be disappointed. You like walking into heaven with your head down, like you got tricked.
Like, damn it to hell,
Oh man.
But
Yeah,
also,
and
I'm
then
also of the as someone who grew up Catholic, my understanding of Jesus Christ, the historical figure and how he is presented in the Bible and by the church, is that he was a good guy. He was a progressive, like like the idea that they would not like he would totally have a real problem with what they believe. And also, he was a Jew. They seem to really try to forget that very important piece of information. Um,
well, that's where it starts to get real dangerous, because
yeah.
that's where you start getting
Be like Jesus
centuries of
Christ.
war.
Be like
So,
Jesus Christ. Oh, you mean become Jewish? No, not that.
no, not that. No, grow long hair.
No, don't grow long hair either, you
Get
hippie.
whiter. Get whiter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great call though. This has been fun all over the place, but I like those
Yeah, I
calls.
appreciate it. Yeah, really, really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Take care. Have a great night.
See you. You too. Bye.
That was fun. I like those calls. Pontificating on life and the afterlife. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hi, you are on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Matt. This is Wanda from Maryland.
Hi, Wanda from Maryland. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I was initially I wanted to call in and talk about the crypto issue as it relates to the church, but I heard the other caller just call in, a young man, and I'm older. I'm in my 60s. And I wanted to respond because I am a Christian.
Okay.
But I'm in a very liberal denomination. I'm an Episcopalian, and Episcopalians are very much into the climate issue. We have members in the UN working with the UN on climate. We have gay and lesbian clergy. We are the heretics to the evangelicals,
Right.
literally.
Hey, even to the Catholics.
Even to the Catholics, which we descended from, as you may know.
Right.
But I think he's in Texas, and Texas is very special, as we know. So that does make a difference. But I just wanted to clarify that the evangelicals do not represent the entire Christian community.
Right.
They are loud and ignorant and unfortunately in power in many places, but they are not, I'm not sure if they're the majority, but they do not represent a lot of the other denominations that are very much aware of climate change, working towards trying to, get some help with that issue. And quite frankly, I think if they got empowered, they would brand us heretics and try to eliminate us.
Right.
Um,
I as a someone who's lived his whole life in New York, and I'm from my understanding, Maryland on this isn't much different. I've honestly, I don't even know if I've ever even come across an evangelical in my in my everyday life
Oh,
here.
yes, I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Williamsburg, but I've been living in Maryland for several decades. There were evangelicals when I was growing up, but they were in their little corner in Brooklyn. I
Right.
don't know what it's like now, but here in Maryland, we do have an evangelical streak, and unfortunately, there is an evangelical movement in the Black church. So that does create a little tension there in terms of you may have some people in the evangelical wing of the Black church being more conservative on some of the issues that that we see. They may be more conservative on abortion. They may be more conservative on gay issues. But generally speaking, even here, they are not climate deniers at all. So I just wanted to clarify that every Christian is not a climate denier.
Right.
That is not the case. And the Episcopalians do not believe that the earth is only 4,000 years old. That is not anything that we believe. We're very much pro-science. Many of our clergy come from the science area. The second thing I wanted to bring up was, I'm African American, so I'm in those circles. I was on and I'm volunteering for during the midterms. I'm volunteering for calls and phone banking and that sort of thing. But I was on a call with a nonprofit group that was promoting a way for churches to, get money going again in the church. The pandemic has really wreaked havoc on churches' budgets because people haven't been there, people haven't been contributing. And this guy came on and started talking about Bitcoin and crypto and trying to get some of the bigger Black churches into this. And this would be a way for you to, you know, pump up the church budget after the pandemic. And I was thinking, I said, oh, I have to call into Matt because I have not heard, anything about this. And now it seems like this is creeping into the church. I don't know, but I was hoping that maybe you knew something about it, or if you could look into it to see if that's going to be another problem,
Right.
because I could see that wiping out the budget of many Black churches.
Was this someone who was a part of the church, or is this someone who came in to speak to the church?
Well, he came in to speak. The group is a collection of several churches. So he came in to speak, but he's like a financial advisor, but he belonged to one of the churches. And he's a financial advisor on Wall Street. He's African American, a young man, but he was coming in to promote this whole thing. And I said, I don't know anything about it, but I said, isn't this just kind of like a Ponzi scheme or something? He said, oh, no, no, no. This is the future. This is going to be the biggest thing. We have to get in now. It's going to be, it's going to be good for the churches, a way to get money in, and it's the future. And I thought, oh no,
Right.
this is coming to the church.
Right.
This is
I love the idea of like someone up on the speaking at at the podium at the church. Man, it's been so long since I've been to church. I know the term isn't
yeah.
podium, but as Jesus Christ once said, "Get in now, get in early." It's so
Right.
it's so bizarre. I mean, I have seen that there are speakers who get you know a invited to speak before different. And the most recent one I saw was like a financial advisor speaker for cryptocurrency, traveling and talking to nursing homes all over the country. And I'm like, oh my God. This is definitely something that I think is expanding here in terms of them trying to reach out to people who would not necessarily do this on their own and need that push. Now, I don't know if this guy was part of any of that. He could just have been someone who saw this sort of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I'll definitely look into this if this is a trend going on, or even a more organized thing in terms of getting religious organizations into crypto.
Yeah, that really worries me because we have two big churches here in Baltimore area. I'm outside of the Baltimore area, and they have multi-million-dollar budgets because they have so many members. They have over 10,000 members, and these are kind of mini mega churches here. And I could just see somebody looking at that budget and saying, "Oh wow, this is like a plum here for us to go in and try to get them to invest." Because they have large budgets. I mean, my church is tiny; they wouldn't even worry about us. But it just concerned me that this guy was coming to us as a group of churches and trying to convince us that this is the way to go.
Right.
Um,
That's sort of the thing. That's sort of the, speaking on our earlier, earlier, we haven't been talking that long, but what you brought up earlier about, the difference between like evangelicals and other Christian
right.
denominations, especially, Episcopalians. I feel like one of the most toxic things that I do, again, I'm not coming from an area of like immense knowledge of the evangelical church, but I feel like evangelicals have become worse in their beliefs or their way of life since it seems to have been taken over by the idea that financial success is somehow part of your faith. I feel like
Yes.
there's been a rise in
Yes.
that in evangelicalism, specifically in terms of like the mega churches and like
Yes.
almost like the better a certain pastor or
Yes.
whatever does like in life, the more holy they are or something, which is absurd.
Right. That is true. And this is something called prosperity gospel, which I don't know if you've ever heard that term,
Yes, that
but
sounds
that is
familiar.
very
Yeah.
much a fake, that's a very fake belief system that unfortunately has crept into the Christian community and specifically into the Black churches. That is a big problem. I don't know
Ah.
if you saw that video that went viral about a young Black pastor saying, "Where's my watch? You all were supposed to buy me this watch and it hasn't come yet. You all are cheap," or whatever. That is a major problem. I mean, it's major. They ask for cars, they ask for watches, they ask for diamonds. I mean, it just goes on and on. And it is pervasive in that evangelical um, you know, sort of wing of the church. It's sort of a way to get around being greedy. You can say, "I deserve this because God wants me to have it because He says everybody's supposed to be rich and prosperous. If you're not, then you're a sinner and you're the devil."
Right.
Which that ties into trashing poor people
Right. It honestly
because they
feels
can
like the
say
most
you're poor because you're a sinner.
right. It honestly feels like the most in your face way of like mask off. Like you feel. I feel like if this like when it first started, if someone was to when this whole like prosperity gospel thing started, I feel like
Right.
it would have been really easy for like the first group of people who this was professed in front of. They would have been like, well, this is bullshit.
Right.
But
Exactly.
somehow it hooked in and it got really popular. It's bizarre because it seems to be like the most anti
Anti-Christian. It is.
right.
I mean, it's just totally. I mean, they have forgotten, like you were mentioning, they've forgotten that Jesus was not some rich white billionaire. He was a Middle Eastern Jew,
Right.
and nobody seems to be saying that or remembering that he was among the poorest of the poor. That's where he was doing his ministry. So I don't know. I called in for those two things, and so I'm going to let other callers get in. I enjoy you on the Majority Report. I never call in because I'm scared of Sam. He always makes me nervous. So, but I
Well,
watch him faithfully. Um, and I love you and on Thursdays and on Majority Report and both of your shows. So keep up the good work.
thank you so much, and I'm glad that you feel so comfortable with me to call in, unlike
Yeah.
that
Well, you're the
evil
same age
Sam
as my
Cedar.
son, so
Oh, well,
so it
thank
makes
you.
me feel good, and I just think you're great. So thanks a lot for everything you do.
I really appreciate that. It means a lot. And please call in again. This was a fantastic call. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Good
Have a
night.
great night. That was great. And of course, if you're going to call in and tell me how great I am, then you're welcome to call in multiple times an episode. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, well, howdy there, Matt. This is Dave from Jamaica. How are you doing?
Hey, Dave from Jamaica. Long time no talk, my friend. I feel like you, or have you? I don't even know anymore. Uh,
No. It's been a while. Been a while.
the
Been a
days and the
little bit of a
months
spell.
all
Blend
just
together.
blend together now. I used to think time was so slow. Literally, a week felt like a year, and then all of a sudden, a year feels like a week. And I can't believe 2022 is literally headed out the door in just a few months. It's amazing. I can't believe it.
So now I'll put it like this now for you, Matt. Your second caller was great. She kind of highlighted the points I wanted to get talked about. Not to dump on the first caller too much, but as a stone cold atheist myself, that call felt like it came from 2010.
You know, we also have to keep in mind that again, and I think the previous caller Wanda, was understanding of this too. I can only imagine what he's experiencing in Texas. Like because I've never been to Texas, and from
All
my
right.
understanding, it's probably got him to the point where he is exactly how he is because he lives in Texas.
But here's the thing now.
Because
Yeah.
listen, I
Well, here's the
I
thing you
agree.
have to
I agree.
understand. I
I
live in Jamaica. It's far more conservative religious than Texas. It blows Texas out the water.
I know what you're saying, and
Uh,
but there is something about there's something about white people religion that's a little bit different, honestly. It's honestly, a little bit scarier, to be quite frank, when they get to
mm,
their extremes. I think, honestly.
uh, callers are correcting me about the ordering, but sorry, the chat's correcting me. But at the end of the day, Matt, I would say if you come to Jamaica, you'll see some very scary stuff too. Just focus on different stuff. Now,
Well,
what
I
I'm
did say I've never been to Texas,
hmm
but as a expert in all things Jamaica, because I go there all the time. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, yeah, you're right. I don't know Jamaica any more than I know Texas. So you're
no,
probably both correct.
no, but here's the thing. As I said, I'm a stone cold atheist, but what the 2010 era of YouTube and new atheism has taught me is people need to focus less. Religion is not the root of all evil, right? Because if you just dig a little deeper, right? Just dig a little deeper, you will see that the main thing is economic issues, right? So let's take anti-black racism. It really got its start probably with the Abrahamic religions, right? Probably Islam, where some scholars assumed black people were the cursed son of Noah. There's nothing in the text that says the black people are that, right? But at the end of the day, the real motivating factor, even though it happened before capitalism proper, was to make a underclass exploit to get money, right? And that's where the root is. So when he said stuff like, "Oh well, it's religions that preventing climate change," no, I think it's more like Exxon Mobil that's preventing.
From my yeah, I know what you're saying. I took it, and maybe I took it wrong, but I think this is probably what he meant too. I think he's talking about like what drives the people in power, like our politicians, to make certain laws. And when it comes to climate, you're probably are right, where it is the more driving factor of the lobbyists. But there's no like big business lobbying for anti-abortion laws. So, on climate, he's probably, it's probably some truth to it, but in terms of the social issues, way more accurate than like climate.
Well, even then, with the social issues, what I've learned is regardless if it's religion or ideology, people tend to like raisin bread and they pick out the raisins because they want the stuff that reinforces their particular biases, if you see, right? So look at the case with let's say you I'm thinking of a particular case now. Like let's say if America is a more socialist type minded society. Like you have in South America, you have more socialist leaning places, which are also religious, right? They what drives the religion is the I don't know the correct Marxist term for it, but it would be the superstructure or something like that, which kind of guide.
Hold on, Jave. I gotta scoff at you for not knowing the correct Marxist term. No, I'm
Uh,
just
I,
fucking
I,
with you.
I, 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 I probably need to read up some. I need to reread my Capital. But so here's the thing.
I could listen to you. Can you just read the entirety of Marx's works in your with your wonderful accent? Because that was great. I love.
Yeah. Well, the chat desired it, and I want to bring it right to them. So what the issue is, though, right? What is usually the economic structures enforce the religion, right? Gospel prosperity took off because of the capitalist motivations, right? And of course, there was a deliberate effort to kind of, like, the good religious folks think of your Reverend Barber and your Cornel Wests and so on and so forth being suppressed, right? So it was kind of a right wing takeover. And I'm pretty sure if you dig deep enough, you'll find some businessmen behind a lot of that type of stuff, right? So and then at the end of the day, whether you believe in religion or not, generally what I found that motivates people is not so much the text themselves, but what they can get out of it, right?
Right.
So there, and as the lady rightfully pointed out, if you're a bigot, if you were in an atheist system, you'd find some doctrine to enforce your bigotry, right? Unlike but we live in a world where you have a religious structure, so they use that to enforce their bigotry. Because, like, when I brought up the anti-black racism started, that probably more came out of somebody using the religion to enforce their bigotry, because there was nothing in the text themselves that said the Negro is the bad son of Noah or something like that, right?
Right.
And so that's my kind of view of it. And that's kind of how I grew out of that type of thinking. Because at the end of the day, Hitchens is a great example. Big supporter of the Iraq War, even though I like him on a lot of things. But we saw where the motivations and how he was turning. And some suspect it was probably due because he wanted to hobsnob with the celebs and whatnot. So I'm not sure that if you want better people, you need to provide social safety nets and all of that. So if you live in a society that's struggling, whether it's religious or not, people tend to turn cruel because of the economic conditions.
Yeah.
Not so
No.
much
Yeah. No.
because
Absolutely.
I've noticed, like, well, I'm just random things are popping into my head now because I'm remembering, like, the golden age of Islam, and they were far more, for the time, I should say, they were far more less religiously zealots because they were kind of on the top of the world. It's usually when things go down, people kind of get kind of fundamental, if you know what I mean.
No. Yes. No. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. Again, I agree with a lot of what you're saying too. I think obviously I think there is no just one explanation that explains everything. I mean, everybody, I should say. I do think there are, obviously, the most obvious thing is, of course, people are most motivated by money and what they can get out of something. Of course, absolutely. But I also don't want to downplay the idea that there are certainly, even if they're not the majority, there are certainly true believers who,
Oh, of course, you're
yeah,
always going to have zealots, but
yes, yes.
from your diving in with the alt-right, especially during the era of Gamergate, a lot of them were edgy atheists. Probably they're not religious right-wingers now. Who knows?
There's been some really weird and bizarre, changes, and all of a sudden, your politics got you believing in God. It's bizarre.
Right,
It's bizarre.
It's a strange journey. It's a strange journey on the good ship Grift. So,
Right. It's
well,
like you know what, I don't know why this just came into my head, but you know that Toy Story, the who's that guy who always writes the music for Toy Story? Randy Newman. There was one of the Toy Story songs where it's like, strange things are happening to me. It's like, I imagine that all of a sudden in, like, the mind of someone like Milo Yiannopoulos, like that song playing as, like, all of a sudden he becomes a right wing. Well, he always was right wing, but he becomes a God fearing, formerly gay right wing
Hmm.
influencer. Right? Bizarre,
But
bizarre.
you even see it with grifters like Dave Rubin. But what I found, what is the true line, the thread, as you will, is opportunism, and that's what drives them. See, or they would take, they would be, even though I'm thinking even in a Soviet system, right? They would be the guy that like, I want to be the prison guard that beats somebody. Those are those types of people. So at least that's why I see it. But not to riff on the caller too much, because I think his heart's in the right place. He just needs to kind of reevaluate it. Take it from an old crusty atheist like myself. But the but I would like to, what I really wanted to call about is, and I'll make it quick now because I've been on for a bit. The
Oh no, the call.
I
Listen, the calls have been tonight have been absolutely great. I think it's one of the all around one of the best shows we've had in terms of the call-ins. I've loved it. This has been great. Seriously, everyone's been fantastic.
Sir, you flatter me. So now I'm no, I
You're
think
also getting a little bit cocky now with your calls. I like it. We're seeing a Dave from Jamaica who's like, I remember at first you were telling me like, oh, I always thought about starting a YouTube channel, but I'm a little bit unsure of myself. And now you're calling in and being like, yeah, it's Dave from Jamaica, the great Dave from Jamaica. You all know me. You all love me. Here's the deal. I love it. It's great. It's great. I love
yeah,
it.
maybe I'm a bit giddy, but so let me now let me focus on the thing there now. I'll make it quick. The thing now, my pet peeve is when they're, especially when it comes to critiquing of films, right wing nerds or Disney adults, quotation marks, have ruined it. If there's any legit criticism of new stuff that Disney vomits out, it can't be criticized because they're too busy being so super racist that I have to be forced to defend it.
Right, right.
Right.
No, absolutely. Like, I want to listen. I'm telling you right now that Little Mermaid movie is not going to be good, and it's going to
Oh,
have
it's going to be
nothing.
a complete
Yeah,
trash,
and it's
except for
gonna,
the singing. Yeah.
yeah, and it's gonna have nothing to do with who they cast in it. Like, they have been unable to. Again, this is on the specific. We're not talking about the political nature of the discourse around this yet, but they've been unable to figure out how to transfer the animated classics to live action and retain that allure that Disney was able to, that made Disney is good at making those animated features, and they've been good at moving from the 2D animation
To the
to the
3D.
3D with like Encanto and things like that. They are masters at the animated genre. Literally, just watch any other cartoon animated movie, and there are a few out there that I feel like are of Disney's stature. For example, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Oh, great movie.
Yep, Land Before Time. What's another one on the type of my? Oh, American Tail with Feifel. But again, I'm naming three movies that all apparently that I think about are from like the 80s. So not much in the animated, and I'm not counting anime. I'm talking about American animated movies. So Disney's always been good at that. They have not done a good job with the live action stuff.
Well,
Remakes.
the live action has been nothing but a cash grab, if you ask me. But on a critical level, let's take The Lion King for example, right? You have that iconic scene where Scar tosses off his father, "Long live the king." That type of stuff.
Well, that's
And then
his
Simba,
brother. That's his brother.
right. Tosses off Mufasa. Was it? Yes. So, and then you see the little cub in shock and horror as the herd of wildebeest come towards him. Now, in animation, you can do a little trick where you can draw a cat, but you can anamorphize it so it has human emotion. When the live action version of that happens, cats are not known for their facial expression. So it doesn't work. It simply doesn't work.
Right.
And the issue with The Little Mermaid, the singing is excellent. You're not going to get me complaining about that. Casting, I don't care about that. That's great. The issue is it's going to be very hard to do CG for live action underwater that would match what we saw in the Little Mermaid animated when she was singing. She was swimming around, bubbles, even though you can't see in water like that. But
Right.
if in animation, you can get away with that.
Right.
Her hair was floating in the water while she's singing. It works. Right? You can't do that in live action unless you're paying like a buttload for CGI.
But you know what? I would be able to look past the CGI. Like for example, I don't know what's a movie that doesn't probably have the greatest CGI but still holds up. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Like okay, Homeward Bound. They didn't even bother doing CGI for that movie. It's just the animals are talking to each other and their mouths are not moving.
Well, I think that's a different style of movie. For
right,
the Little Mermaid, you need that type of thing to give it life.
Right. But here's the thing. I think if they were able to create those iconic scenes in the live action like they're able to do in the animated, people would be more forgiving for some of the more not realistic looking stuff. But it's just like it's falling flat. The live action. It's
not necessarily looking realistic. It's more giving the vibe, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Like it's because you're in water, you can't see in water, right? But when you watch the animated Little Mermaid, it was the cheap little bubbles they draw and the fish swim. It gave to the atmosphere. It gave it pop, right? Because she's like a coral mermaid or what have you. But here's my take on it. If they just redid the animation, just made another one, and you know what? Make all the characters black. So I win doubly. I get the nice animation, all the colors. The racists are pissed off. It works.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's the thing that's so bizarre to me is like, listen, like the live action stuff doesn't even like take over in like the Disney canon of like who is the default character. Like the Ariel that you see everywhere is still going to be the white, red-haired Ariel from the animated series, just like Belle.
Well, I heard earlier they were trying to put a black character in the animated version a couple of years ago. Probably the
same. They were going to redo the Little Mermaid animated one?
No, like she had a friend or some shit like that.
Oh no, there was a black mermaid character in the Little Mermaid. Either it was like a Little Mermaid animated show that was like an after-school Disney Channel show, or one of the Little Mermaid sequels that was like direct to VHS. Remember that used to be a thing, direct to VHS. Disney always would do that. They would make a great. Again, this is something. So it's not just the animated. It has to do with, I guess, I don't know. There are a lot of Disney, those classic Disney movies. There's a Bambi 2. There's a Lady and the Tramp 2, a Little Mermaid 2, and Aladdin 2. None of those are memorable at all. They were straight up cash grabs, like thrown together stories straight to DVD or VHS or whatever. No one remembers any of that shit. But there was a black mermaid in one of the Little Mermaid ones. And
what kind of shocks me then? With all the money that Disney has, if they're hell bent on doing a live action, why not spend the money on the CGI to kind of give it that pop?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, I love Pinocchio, the original Pinocchio. I think it might be one of my favorite of the classic Disney movies. I watched the live action, very interested in seeing how they were going to do it. I didn't think the CGI was great, but you know what? For a character like Pinocchio, who's already very over the top and not realistic in general, I think it was fine. The most distracting part of the CGI in the Pinocchio movie to me was actually Figaro, the cat, who they didn't try to make look like the animated version. They tried to make him look like a realistic CGI cat, like how a real cat looks, but all CGI. And that was way more distracting than anything else, honestly.
Right. I think they made some very bad art directions, unlike the Ring of Power now, where.
Oh, and Tom Hanks. Listen, yes. I love Tom Hanks, but bad Geppetto, very bad Geppetto. There are. I feel
how bad was his Italian accent?
There's a point in the movie where he just drops the accent completely and he's just talking like Tom Hanks. Yeah. This is I don't get I get why they put big name actors in some of these roles, obviously, because it's a money making thing. And they could say Tom Hanks is in this movie and he's the draw in their eyes. But I hate when they cast a big named actor in a role where a big named actor would take away from that role, like where a character actor would be much better cast in that role. Like Geppetto is a very specific over the top type character where casting him as a someone who's nothing like him is going to take away from the role. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
yeah,
100%.
like
Bad
Tom,
casting, bad
yeah,
art direction.
yeah, like it was just a. I listen. I really tried to like the movie, and there are parts of it I do like. Um, I liked the new character they added, the puppeteer who works for Stromboli, who befriends Pinocchio through her puppet because Pinocchio stopped trusting people and only trusted puppets. I thought that was very well done, and I really enjoyed the character and the actor who played the character. Um, I thought the Stromboli character was good. The kid who played the kid who's friends with Pinocchio at Treasure Island was good. But really bizarre changes to the movie. And that have nothing to do with the actors or what their race is. Just like Disney just hasn't figured out how to.
Does it feel like a cash grab, or it feels like misguided?
This one felt a little bit of both. Like I feel someone brought up the fact that there was that like Pinocchio movie that some other studio is putting out there that's all CGI, and it's not based on Disney's Pinocchio because they have the IP for their version of Pinocchio. But someone mentioned like, what if like it does seem like Disney like saw that movie was coming out and quickly wanted to put together their own version to make sure they had their version out there. And that seems like a possibility, but also Pinocchio is one of those like classic Disney characters that they can monetize very much by actually creating good content with him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No,
they're
100%.
clearly put a lot of money in the Beauty and the Beast live action remake, the Lion King live action remake, the Little Mermaid live action remake. Regardless of whether they were good or not, clearly a lot of money was put into them. The Pinocchio one really does seem like it was done on a budget. I don't get that at all.
Also, that live action was the redheaded stepchild, if you will. So I think I'll end it with this one now. I watched a bit of the Rings of Power. I'm beginning to really think that racist nerd culture has really they're very petty, because I'm looking at the CGI. They're complaining about the CGI of the warg or what have you, right? And I'm looking on this thing, and I thought it was goddamn animatronic. And then when somebody told me it was CGI, I was like, wow, that's pretty good CGI. Because what people need to realize, imaginary animals don't exist. So if they make them, no matter how realistic it is, it'll come off looking fake. Like that's how the human brain works.
Right. That's the thing. Like that's like what I said about Pinocchio, where like I was fine with the Pinocchio CGI, but the cat CGI, the Figaro CGI was distracting, and that's because when you're making something fantastical with CGI. The human mind is a lot more accepting of that because it doesn't exist in real life, so it doesn't look weird. Like it looks like, oh, that's how maybe that would look if it was real.
Right.
But if you try to do CGI with something that is real, like create like that Final Fantasy all CGI movie that they tried many years ago, and that didn't do well. When they try to do like the Lion King CGI where those animals are real.
Right.
It's like Uncanny Valley. That's what it's called. Yes. And that is distracting. Listen, my problem with the Lord of the Rings show is that it's way too whimsical for me. I don't like the bright, cutesy little, the fairies and the cute little people that they have in there, and the the little gnome type characters. It's all too like tee hee hee. This is like feels like a late '80s like I don't know a labyrinth type thing, or like I was never a fan of that type of fantasy.
I see.
So that sort of was the distracting part to me, but I thought it looked good, and I thought
I think it looks good, and I'm personally rooting for it, if just despite the racist nerds.
I do think the right move was casting a bunch of
Mhm.
No big names because those actors, like I watched just the first
They're
episode,
very good actors, if you
and
ask.
the
No,
dialogue left me wanting better. But in terms
right.
of like they're being able to become those characters, I thought they did a good job doing that. Um,
There's a little known secret. There's a lot of good actors out there. Usually, when something goes wrong, it's either the writer's fault or it's the director. Because I think that there are lots of good quality, non-famous actors out there. The At least that's my belief on
oh
that.
yeah, I think a lot more. I think there needs to be a lot more
Mhm.
variety of just actors in general, like of any gender, race, sex, creed, whatever. I think it's ridiculous that movies keep just going back to the same big name stars because
Because they want to
eventually,
play it safe, just
yeah,
like
but also I think it's very detrimental to the actual quality of the
oh,
movie. Some of these named actors get to a point where they actually become distracting. Um, they're look at Game of Thrones. Like they were able to get some name actors for some of the
mhm.
roles, and those actors I think did a good job of becoming the character. But the vast majority of those Game of Thrones actors were not known, and now they're all huge stars, and the show is a huge success.
No, well, that is the major problem. The movie studios want to play it safe. That's why we're seeing the same superhero movies over and over. And I even like superhero movies, but the superhero movie era has lasted longer than the goddamn cowboy era, and that
Right.
lasted a real damn long time.
Right.
But the
The
thing
thing the
is,
thing with the superhero movies to me is like I don't mind all that they kept to keep going, and there's like the financial incentive of they all connect, so you got to see them all. And I don't mind that again if the stories are good, and I feel like as each new movie comes out, they're becoming less memorable and iconic. Like that
they're
first
running
event,
out of steam.
yeah,
They're
like
running.
they're like to me a good movie has um, you know, at least one scene that like cements itself as like a memorable film in like the history of cinema. And I feel like back in the pre like 90s, I feel like every movie that did like, that's remembered and did well has something like that. Um I don't feel that way now in terms of like what movies do well at the box office. So many of them are just forgettable. And so to me they're just not good films.
I think our mutual friend here, Bradley, no, Brandon, yes, in the majority report said it best. It seems like every character is Tony Stark now. Everybody is snarky and has a quick
Yes.
comeback. It
Yes.
feels like Eric Sorkin has infected all the writing in the world. It's really
I think it
disappointing.
was a mistake what they did with ending Thanos' arc because to me Thanos was the last great thing they did. He is a memorable character. His scenes, he stole the scenes when he was in it. I remember every single Thanos scene and his number of his quotes. He was an example of a job well done. And since they got rid of him, in my opinion, they've gone downhill.
No, that's kind of typical for the history of superhero movies. It happens in DC all the time. You kill the main villain, you make one movie, Joker dies at the end of it. It it
But see,
kind of
with
puts
the
them in a
bat
problem.
with Nolan's Batman movies, I thought every single one of those villains is great. Like people wondered after Heath Ledger's Joker how they could. I think Bane stands on his own, and in some ways, was better than Heath Ledger's Joker. I mean, obviously there are also areas where Joker was better than Bane, in terms of like the characters. Personality attributes how he was played, but they stand on their own. Marvel has
I,
not been able to do that.
no, that is true. I'll give you that. But I think people are divided on Bane, and I say that depends on when you watched it because when you were in the movie theater, sometimes you couldn't hear what Bane was saying. I personally love Bane because he's kind of a ridiculous kind of character. Why would you shoot a man on a plane? That
Wow,
type
that
of
was
thing.
good. That was good.
So that's why I like Bane. But I think if anything, we need a superhero pause, just a pause, and we try some other movies. But right now, I feel they're going to do it like how they did the Ring trilogy back in the day, where they're just going to grind it out. Like when Ring came out, then there was 5 different other creepy dead girl movies.
Oh,
And
specifically, they literally went through like the library of classic Japanese horror movies and just remade them all with American actors.
exactly, it really disappoints me. But at the end of the day, if I had a choice, as much as I get a little fatigued with superhero movies, just make them all black characters. Just piss off the racist nerds.
Right. I gotta say, I enjoyed Robert Pattinson's Batman, and I actually think he is the best Batman we've seen. Honestly, it's the first Batman movie where I thought Batman was the most interesting character on screen.
Oh, you mean I didn't have a chance to see that? That's the one with Detective Batman.
It is really good,
Oh,
and
I'm
it's
gonna
probably
catch
the
that.
best Batman. And I'm not saying that because like the villain is bad. I love the portrayal of the Riddler in that movie, very well done. But it's the first Batman where Batman's actually more interesting than the other characters, which is
Well,
not the case with the Batman movies.
no, well that's a good sign. I'm gonna definitely catch it. I think, and that harkens back to the old Batman animated series where Batman was a detective, and that's what made him fun. But anyway, I think I've taken up far too much of your generous time, and I need to make other callers get their chance.
All right, sounds good. I do love this. This is probably the only show where the guests tell the host it's time to wrap it up.
No, 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 no.
The
I just
callers
have
say, "All right, let's wrap it up."
no. I have a guilty heart, and I went on too long, and I know
No,
people
I
are
love it. It was
itching on
great.
the line.
Oh,
So,
this was fantastic. Again, I was planning on going maybe an hour, hour and a half. We're now at an hour and a half. Maybe there'll be another caller or two. I'll take maybe 1 or 2 more calls if they're there. And great show. Thank you so much, Dave from Jamaica, for being a part of it.
all right, and now I'm gonna end my accent. All right, I'm back in regular mode. So, catch you later, man.
Can you leave us? Can you leave us with a bane, by the way? Because that was too good.
Well, now that I need to think of a Bane line, but I'm not sure which one would work. So,
Thank you, Dave. Take care. Ah. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
G'day, Matt. It's John from Australia. How you doing?
John from Australia. I am doing great. How are you doing on this fine Australian Friday afternoon?
It's finally happened. The merge. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. I'm ecstatic.
I attended Bennett Tomlin's merge party that I made up and pulled out of my ass for the episode, and it was fantastic. We had champagne, we had a cake, and everything's gonna be cool now. All the critiques of crypto have gone out the window. Crypto is now fixed for good. Everyone loves crypto now, and everyone's gonna make it. Everyone's rich now.
Yeah, they did it exactly. They finally fixed the one thing that everyone's been complaining about for a while. The initial figures have come in from what I've sort of seen floating around crypto Twitter. As you covered in your show with Bennett, the merge has gone ahead, and blocks are now being validated as opposed to mined. Apparently, there's some tweets going around, unconfirmed. I haven't dug into it too much. I haven't hit the block explorers up yet, but I think the numbers are 46% of the blocks validated so far have been validated by 2 Ethereum addresses.
Really? Okay. Oh boy. All right. Yeah, that like what is it the stat too? Like something like 50% of all Bitcoin is owned by like 0.01% of users or something like that. Yeah, it's going to continue this way.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it was so decentralized. It's meant to be greatest transfer of wealth, blah blah blah,
Can you do me a
whatever,
favor?
yada yada.
Can you send me where you saw that? Because I think that's a story.
I will. I'll track it down.
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah, I mean, also, I did think that because this stuff is all just based on a news cycle and what's getting the most headlines and talk and press and chatter around it. So I did think that due to it being a big deal in that world, Ethereum was going to pop off today and have a little spike in value. It dropped big actually. It fell pretty hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got a bunch of miners who are sitting on stacks of ether. Like these people have been mining Ethereum for the last couple of years, and now like their electricity costs are going up. The rigs are now ultimately like kind of useless. They have to shift to another coin, right, to mine, or another several series of coins or whatever it is. And they're sitting on these mining rewards, on these block rewards. They want to recoup the costs, so
Right.
they got to sell, right?
Right, I'm looking right now at so we could go this by hour by hour. Well, I'm gonna name hour by hour, but I'm looking at the Ethereum price, the price of Ether, and the merge happened this morning, Thursday, September 15th, 2022, at 1 a.m. Eastern time, and so last night, Wednesday, around 9:30, 10 o'clock, Ether's trading around $1,600, maybe $1,650 at a point. The merge happens, and still trading around 1,600. There's a slight bump that just gets it back to like 1,650 this morning around 8 a.m. And then around 1:30, it drops again, and it's now trading at $150 less than it did during the pre and directly post merge. So it's weird that even this big news story for Ethereum didn't even pump those numbers for them.
Yeah, look, I won't pretend to know what price action looks like in crypto, right? Like this is a closed, as much as people like to say, it's democratic, it's transparent, it's open. This is a closed system, right? A lot of this stuff takes place on exchanges. There's these shady players that are dealing with, we've got a history of dealing with groups like Tether, dealing with like banks that work with cartels. Like this is it's a joke to think that you can make any sense of this sort of market. But to the extent that we can, there's a couple of things, right? Like there's the idea that miners are now have this asset that there's no reason for them to keep holding on to. And naturally, there's probably a bit of hesitance on their part. Like they're not entirely sure what the market's going to do come the merge. So, I mean, you could hold it, I guess, but safe move is to sell. But yeah, it's we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens. I'm sure this 46% of blocks validated by 2 addresses is only going to further sort of like coagulate around these larger addresses and validators. I think one of them, someone said, was Lido, and I forget the name of the other organization who's doing this, but it's going to be a couple of organizations that effectively have total control of the chain.
Yeah. Decentralization, baby.
That's it. Hey, you had a caller earlier. I think, was it Wendy?
Yes.
Her name was?
Yep.
She was talking about cryptocurrency in the church. I don't know if you recall, but there was a story that went around crypto skeptic Twitter in June last year about a young girl who started a cryptocurrency club at her local church. Is this ringing any bells?
Oh, it does. It does. Yes, but I don't remember anything about it.
Okay, so it was a Reddit post, and I'll dig into the archives and I'll link you to it later. It was a Reddit post by a mother.
Let me just say first of all, before you get into it, you have an amazing memory, John. You are amazing with this. You call in and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember listening to that call on the Scam Economy Post show 6 months ago." I'm like, "What? I don't even. It's my show, and I don't remember the calls last week." Amazing. You have a great memory.
Well, look, I don't do much else, so. And I've been following this crypto stuff for a while, so the sort of the Schadenfreude and the particularly horrifying events tend to occupy a bit of space in my mind.
I hear you. All right, go ahead.
So this woman posts to Reddit and says, my daughter has started this cryptocurrency club, and now the pastor of the church is asking her to close it and cancel it. And she goes into a bit of detail and says, like, she started this cryptocurrency trading club at our local church, and she started getting a lot of members, and she started making quite a bit of like money and stuff. And then I got, the pastor came to me and said, she's got to shut this thing down. Like, she can't keep doing this. This doesn't align with the sort of the values of the church and whatnot. And the mother goes, oh, well, that's a bit weird. I think, seems like he's kind of jealous maybe that my daughter's doing something in the church that's getting really popular, and he hasn't come up with any cool ideas for the church to do. But anyway, I'll talk to my daughter. She talks to her daughter, and the daughter goes, oh, I'd love to stop it, but I don't have enough money to pay the people who've paid me already, because the members pay her money and she invests on their behalf. She says, I'd love to stop, but like I don't have enough money to pay my new investors. I've been paying investors with new investors with my old investors' money. Now,
wow.
Mother's describing this on Reddit, and she doesn't know what she's describing.
That's amazing.
And everyone on Reddit immediately starts commenting and says, oh, your daughter has started a Ponzi scheme. Like, your daughter is literally doing crimes right now. Daughter was 15 years old, and just started a Ponzi scheme in her local church. I don't know what happened of it. What ended up happening? She deleted the post when people started pointing out this is your daughter is committing a crime. But there you go. I'll link you that story. You can have a bit of a look at it.
Now that you laid it out, I'm actually like thinking, and I remember that vaguely. Yes, that is incredible, and that's again perfectly in line with what Wanda, I think her name was. Yes, was telling us earlier about what she was coming across at her church.
Well, look, and she mentions rightly, like some churches have quite a significant budget. Naturally, they have to do a lot of stuff. They have to do a lot of things for the community, and that can take quite a bit of money. And there may be periods where, say, for example, an extended pandemic. There may be periods where those funds need to tide them over for a period of time. Regardless, those funds tend to be quite attractive targets for people. And not only that, and in the case of the story I just told, that there are people who don't realize that this is absurdly risky, and that by taking someone's money and investing it and losing it, that like you are intensely liable for that. Like, I don't know how it is in the United States, but in Australia, if you provide someone financial advice, you need to be licensed. If you are providing any financial advice to someone in a capacity, in a professional capacity, you can't do that without a license. You have to be registered. You have to be licensed to be able to do that. If you don't, if you're not licensed and you're providing financial advice, you're in trouble. I don't know how it goes if you're 15 though.
Right. I'm going to assume that a 15-year-old. Yeah. I'm also going to assume that. I mean, again, 15 is that age where I feel like it could go either way. They could be an immature 15-year-old that literally don't realize what they're doing, or they could be a very mature 15-year-old who know exactly what they're doing. It's right at that line in terms of like, they could definitely know they're doing financial crimes, but they also might not know they're doing financial crimes.
It could be as you say, it could be a mix of both, where they know what they're doing is wrong, but also they're like, but is it really like that wrong? And like, I should be able to do it. It'll be fine. Like, I don't really quite fully realize the extent to which it's wrong. Like, I've snuck out before. I've stayed out late before. That's the extent to which my reality, that's the extent to which wrong exists in my reality. It's not, I'm defrauding people of tens of thousands of dollars. It's I didn't do my homework and a teacher yelled at me or something, right? Like it's the gravity of the situation perhaps isn't quite as communicated to them, or isn't quite as apparent.
Right. Yeah,
I'm going to hard left here and just change the topic because
Go
this
ahead.
crypto stuff's very, very depressing. I'd rather talk about something else that's depressing, which is something that Dave was talking about like sort of modern cinema and the superhero films and all that sort of stuff. And there's something interesting that you're sort of talking about and maybe talking around, which is like, how they keep making superhero movies, or the Disney keeps making these live action movies and they're not even really that good and whatever. They're not as good as the animated ones used to be. And I think that perhaps a cynical read of this is they're not meant to be good. These films are often these days created in places where they get massive tax credits to make these films. And through all sorts of creative accounting, even if the film makes a profit, they can put it down on the books as a loss and claim that back. So that's the purpose. Again, it's very cynical reading, but that's kind of the purpose of a lot of these bigger films, to just effectively steal money, right? Like to hide their profits.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a sad reality that it's probably, again, I don't know. I'm sure there are some of those films that they definitely, but I also think, when they're actually like making them, like maybe Pinocchio is one of those films because they seemingly just threw it on Disney Plus and didn't really care to really advertise it. I don't know if like that highly marketed, a lot of money spent on it, like Lion King movie, the Little Mermaid movie that's going to come out. I don't know if those two fit that bill though.
Freddie Mercury biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody, released in 2018. They spent 55 million on it, had a budget of 55 million. It grossed 911 million, was written down as a $51 million loss.
All right. Yeah. It's never know. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then you've got states like Georgia in the United States who I think don't actually have a cap on the tax credits they're able to provide to studios. They can just like provide whatever number they want out of the state's coffers. Whereas states like I think California have like a certain cap on how much they can provide, has a certain cap on the tax credits they're able to dish out. But yeah, Georgia, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe look this up, don't grain of salt, but pretty sure Georgia doesn't have a cap on the amount that they're able to dish out.
I don't know the details, but there's clearly something Georgia is offering because a lot of movies started being made in Georgia, and you see that little "Made in Georgia" logo in the credits of a lot of movies over the past like decade or so.
Yeah, I think I 100%.
I mean, I think that's where Walking Dead is filmed, and they've been ostensibly in the storyline ostensibly since like for the past like I don't know 7 or 8 years supposed to be in Virginia. So I mean they just kept going in Georgia because of whatever benefit they get. And yes, I know you don't have to necessarily, film in the place where the story is taking place, but
yeah, exactly.
Clearly,
Matt, they filmed the moon landing on Earth, so they can,
right,
they can
yeah, of course. But I mean,
Virginia and Georgia,
right? But I mean, they're staying in Georgia, and they started in Georgia for very specific reasons, I'm sure.
Exactly. And one last thing before I go, because I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I was kind of stunned. Maybe I missed Dave's call last week, but I was kind of stunned that I didn't hear Dave bring up the Queen. Speaking from the perspective of an Australian, a nation that is in the Commonwealth, a nation that has had a certain degree of British meddling over the years, I think the sentiment here is that we're probably on the way out. Like we're probably the wheels are starting to turn again for an Australian republic.
Oh.
And based on the news that I've read overseas, I think places like Jamaica, again, I don't want to speak for Jamaica, but from the news I'm reading, places like Jamaica, perhaps even Jamaica itself, are also looking at a sort of revitalized sort of Republican movement, and maybe sort of saying, yeah, we're going to step out. I think Scotland's also talking about getting out. I think is it Northern Ireland? I think even Wales is talking Wales as well.
Wow. I mean, I totally forgot
to the extent to which, like, it's like, I don't know, Scotland had a referendum recently, and I think they voted to stay, but this maybe is just sort of revitalizing everything. And there's a sentiment that is sort of going around that, like, perhaps people don't really like the monarchy, perhaps they really just liked Liz.
which I also don't get, but yeah, I think
I don't get it either.
yeah, I think you're right, cuz like, listen, she was I guess the the relic, really. I mean, she was she was from that era where it was still the modern view of the monarchy, I guess, wasn't quite established yet, so they looked at her as, like, I guess, a real life sort of like tourist attraction, like Mickey Mouse come to life or something. And
Well, that's the thing. Like, no one's actually going to see her. Like, you can't see
yeah,
the
that's
Queen.
that's what
She's
that's
not
what I
behind
said.
bars or anything.
That's what I said on the majority report. But that doesn't make any sense, because, like, of like, oh, we need that argument of, like, the royal family it's worth it to have a royal family and the monarchy because they bring so much in tourist dollars. And I said, I mean, what people go to see is, like, the castle and the buildings and stuff. And I don't, as far as I'm aware, no one's advocating for demolishing those buildings. They could still exist without the monarchy and be like a historical attraction. But, like, people who are going to England because of the royal family, like, it's not like there is, like, a meet and greet. It's not like you get to actually, like, meet them or see them. Like, it's I don't get that. Like, the merchandise. Well, guess what? You could still sell the Queen Elizabeth merchandise. She's a historical figure. Yeah,
Yeah,
weird.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, people go to see the castles, and they see the Tower of London or whatever. They see London Bridge, all that crap. They don't care about the Queen. Like,
Right.
and like, here's the thing, right? Like, you can keep her on the money if you want. Like, like, I don't think we can keep her on the money. I don't think we want to keep her on the money here. She's on the money here. I don't think she should be. Probably get rid of her.
Wild.
But I know
That's wild. She's on your money too?
yes, because we're a Commonwealth country.
Yeah, I
don't think anyone quite understands the degree to which the British Commonwealth, like, actually
Still
still
exists.
means something.
Yeah,
So-
Zoe was telling me last week about the Queen's on every single coin or something. Like, every
Yeah,
denomination,
her head's on the back of the coins. Yep.
every denomination. It's like, what? It's like, listen,
So
here
the
in the
Royal
here,
Mint here
in
has
the,
already
here,
started.
here in
We
the
already
U.S.
got new coins ready to go.
Oh, really? Without her?
Yes, for Charles, for King Charles. Yeah, we
Oh,
have to have new
oh,
coins.
oh,
Like,
oh,
the monarch
oh.
has to be on the money. That's the rules.
Oh, jeez. I was about to say, like, even the U.S., like, with our weird, like, founding fathers patriotism stuff, we don't got the same president on every one of our dollars. The only two of them are on multiple, I think. George Washington's got a quarter and a dollar. Lincoln's got the penny and a $5 bill. But again, that's two people, though. And then, et cetera.
It's on the back of every single coin, and she's on the $5 note.
That's wow.
We've got other people on the other notes. But yeah, I don't think people fully realize the extent to which the Commonwealth still, like, actually means something here. People say, like, there's a sort of a meme going around Twitter. They say, oh, look, yeah, it's all it's all just pomp and circumstance and everything. But then you criticize them and you get arrested, right? That's in the UK. Here, we're not getting arrested, thankfully. But we have a pretty famous event in our history where we had a constitutional crisis due to the fact that the Queen's representative in Australia. So the way that the laws work here is that officially on the books, the Queen has to sign off on the law, or the monarch has to sign off on the law, unless she's out of the country, in which case her representative signs off on the law. All government ministers, the Prime Minister, all of these people are sworn in by her agent, and her agent in Australia is called the Governor General. So like we have our Prime Minister, but there's technically a position above that that is sort of like, oh, it's sort of all circumstantial. It's all just like, yeah, it doesn't really matter too much, except when it does. And in 1975, the Governor General, at the request of the leader of the opposition, the party that isn't in power, at the request of the leader of the opposition, dissolved Parliament and just forced another election and got voted in.
Jeez. Oh my.
And there are a couple of sort of, this is a sort of you can look this up, happened in 1975. If you look up 1975 Australia constitutional crisis, and one of my favorite sort of things about this is the conspiracy theory, where there is a quote from a CIA agent in Australia at the time who mentioned that, oh, the Governor General of Australia, he's our guy. Like, he's our guy. He does what we say. And the Prime Minister who was ousted by the Governor General was very much against the CIA building their I think was it the development of Pine Gap, which is a CIA intelligence gathering top secret office in the middle of Australia. It is sort of like an Area 51 situation, except for like radio intelligence, signals intelligence, all that sort of stuff. He was very much against that. I think he wanted a couple of US military bases out of the country, and then all of a sudden, apparently the CIA's guy dissolves Parliament and he gets voted out.
Wow.
Another interesting monarchy fact: in the late 1950s, early 1960s in Australia, the British tested nuclear weapons in Australia on Indigenous land, and naturally the fallout fell all over Indigenous groups throughout Australia who are still sort of like impacted by that. Their land is still to a certain degree irradiated, and the entire thing was like, oh no, it's going to be fine. No one's going to get injured or anything. It's going to be perfectly okay. So yeah, Australia doesn't really have, like, particularly young Australians, and in particular Indigenous Australians, naturally with the whole kind of genocide thing, the whole kind of coming to Australia and sort of doing a little bit of genocide.
Right. Well, we wouldn't know anything about that. We wouldn't know anything about that here.
On top of that, like just like nuking the center of Australia, nuking Indigenous land. Younger Australians and particularly Indigenous Australians don't have a particular fondness for the.
Wasn't I'm sorry if my Australian history is off. This is gonna sound like a diss, but I swear I believe this is true. I'm not trying to. But wasn't Australia basically, England started sending its criminals over there first, and that's basically where white people came from for Australia?
So yeah, initially they were exploring, they were looking for territory. And there were a couple of other European powers at the time who also sort of discovered, quote unquote, discovered parts of Australia. I think France sort of discovered some stuff up northern Australia. And I think Holland discovered, quote unquote, discovered some parts of Western Australia. But the Brits sailed down the eastern coast, named a whole bunch of places, claimed the territory for the Queen. And then it was in 1888, if I recall my colonialist history, 1788. No, I don't know. British history, I'm not particularly big on. I'm pretty sure.
Dates. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it's 1888. They sent the first fleet, which were people who was like kind of setting stuff up, and I think a certain amount of those people were prisoners, but I think a number of them were people who were just promised land. And they just said, you go over there, you can just take some land. You just have some land. Kind of a sort of a similar situation to what I think in the US when you push from east to west, it was like, oh, just go over there and have some land. Just pick some land and
yes, because of course no one's using it.
No one's there.
Yeah, no one's there. Yeah.
And and yes, there was a degree of like sending prisoners over, but I don't think it wasn't like a prison country. And largely, like when they arrived, it was like minor crimes, and they were kind of, they got over there. It was like, oh well, have some land. Like they were like prison. They were like, oh, you were stealing like sacks of sugar or whatever in England. Go away. But when you get here, oh, just have some land. No one's using it. So like these people were like convicts, but like the punishment was go over there and have some land.
Right. Yeah, that's it's interesting. I learned a lot with this. I have to look into the 1975 constitutional crisis some more. This is really interesting. Damn, this is the calls today. Jeez, did all of you decide to get together and just say tonight we're gonna make this a fantastic show? This has been amazing.
Oh well, look, you have a particularly don't want to compliment myself too much, but you have a particularly good audience, I think.
Oh yes, thank you. No, absolutely. That's not That's not giving yourself a pat on the back. That's well, it's a little bit, but well deserved. But it's mainly giving giving me a pat on the back. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No, good. I'm glad you took it the right way. Because it was intended to be a compliment for you. Like you've created a network of shows that have gathered an audience together that are good head on their shoulders.
Yes, I think so too. Thanks so much, John. Great call. Geez, I wasn't sure if someone else was going to be able to come along and run the gamut of as many different topics as possible. But we did a little bit of Disney, crypto, Australian history, the Queen. Man, you were on you check marked a number of things.
Look, look, here's the thing. If you just make stuff up, you can go a million miles a minute. Like, seriously, probably half the stuff I said wasn't actually true. No. But
hey, I'm not even... One thing, if you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, Matt, I'm not even Australian. This has been in a fake accent the entire time.
all right, I'm going to get out of here. You have a great night.
You have a great afternoon. Take care,
exactly
John.
Right.
Always a pleasure.
Catch you next time. Cheers.
Bye. All right. Geez, a lot of people want to call in now. What time is it? All right, one more call. Ooh, one more call. Oh no! I hung up on the person by accident. Call right back in. I'm gonna wait for your call. I saw it was. I'll remember it's you. I hit the wrong button. Whoever was just calling in, call back in. There you go. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Matt. I'm Daniel from Washington State.
Hey, Daniel from Washington State. What would you like to talk about?
So, I'm one of those dudes that came in over through Hassan and Majority Report and all that stuff. And I moved to the United States in 2016 from Poland. So pretty right-wing country. You know that pretty well, probably.
Right.
Catholics, when Irish people come to Poland, they say, damn, you're Catholic here. Which is kind of...
funny.
Which is kind of hilarious because all dancing in Poland is pole dancing. So... I'm sorry, I always have to make that joke. My wife hates it. So I honestly calling because I'm trying to reconcile something. I'm fairly successful Washington State, big tech environment and stuff, and me getting more and more left. I'm trying to reconcile how to be successful and support my family and not get the greed a best of me versus, my leftist leanings, trying to give away, help people, trying to be empathetic to people around me, especially with people with the homelessness around here in Seattle and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is a great thing to talk about, and a very, very interesting question. I don't think you need to feel bad about providing for your family, for sure. Like, listen, being a leftist doesn't mean that you live in poverty or you have to be poor or anything. You are successful, you know that you probably have a fairly good quality of life and are able to provide for your family and provide a good quality life for them. And that should inform you about how you think all people should be, have this same opportunity to live the same style of life. Now, I don't mean, again, I don't know exactly how successful you are, and you don't have to tell me that. But like, I'm not saying everyone should have, 3 cars and a big fancy mansion, but everyone should be able to, have basic, provide each other, be able to provide for their family,
Yeah,
the
stuff
basic
like housing,
necessities.
food. You
Yes.
shouldn't be. You should be able to get a shower before you get to work the
Right,
next day
but you
instead
know
of
what? I don't.
living in a car,
I'm not.
right?
I'm not even talking even that like basic or. I also think that like listen, it should be normal for someone to be able to you know, do something nice every once in a while with their family. Like I think a good quality
Like
of
your Disney trip, right?
yes, like yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be Disney, of course, but no, everyone in this country should be able to take their family somewhere where they can just get away from work and just enjoy time with their family for a week or two. Not everyone even gets to do that. Like, just and you don't necessarily even have to get paid good, but there are jobs out there that have nice benefits that provide, yes, 2 weeks, 3 weeks vacation time. And there are jobs out there, and I'm going to assume the vast majority of jobs in the United States that provide 0 days vacation time. I mean, we're right here.
As a European, that drives me nuts.
Yes.
That's what that. After, again, I came in 2016. I found that Trump being elected was just pretty hilarious because I wasn't politically connected. And then when shit was hitting the fan for the next 2 or 3 years, especially seeing what women and minorities are going through, I know I'm a fairly privileged white cis dude in tech. So whenever someone is trying to asking me for help, I say, dude, I have no clue how to help you because I've been so fucking privileged. It's not even funny.
Right.
I was given opportunities because I got education for basically free in Europe. I when I went and I was inappropriate in a customer meeting or client meeting, the white dude on the other side of the table didn't feel uncomfortable because they saw themselves in me, right?
Right. Right.
That's how literally how privilege happens.
Right.
So I'm trying to instead of giving it up, like giving up your monies, giving up your, because again Hassan says socialism is being poor, right?
Right. Yeah. Like that's not. Yeah. I think
not.
that's
It's literally not.
Yeah. You see that. You see that. That's sort of like what conservatives try to do whenever they see someone who's a successful leftist. Like, oh, why don't you give your money away? I mean, because they would want that. Because the truth is that if there were more people with these type of politics who are in a position where they're comfortable, then there would be more resources to go around to fight for and help make policies in this country happen that are in line with our beliefs. Like the reason the right is so successful is that a lot of rich people have right-wing politics, so they're able to fund campaigns, politicians, lobbyists, so they can get what they want. So in my estimation, if there are leftists who, have money and they can use that money for the greater good, then that's a net benefit in my view. I don't want everyone to be, every leftist shouldn't be poor. Every leftist should be comfortable. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Everyone
Again,
should be
coming
comfortable.
in from a part of Europe where people know the difference between socialism and communism is kind of a benefit here.
Right. Yeah.
It's personal ownership versus common ownership and stuff like that. It's kind of hilarious, but again, I'm struggling with it. Me and my wife, she's a little bit more of. We both came up poor, and now we are feeling really blessed. We established a border. Threshold of asshole money. I'm telling her that after an amount of millions of dollars, I never want to have more. We will give away everything, and we negotiated a sum in between us.
I do think that's like, I think that is like the way to go, honestly. Like in this day and age, like to make sure that even if tragedy struck your family, you guys wouldn't be in dire straits in terms of financially and being able to pay for
Hmm.
necessities, a few $1 million will probably keep your family comfortable for a generation.
For a generation or
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
If we decide to even to come back to Europe, the purchasing power of a dollar is way bigger across the planet. So
Right. And so that's how I always view things. Like if I ever struck the lottery, I would put aside money to make sure that my family was good and that I could, live a life where I'm spending time with them instead of spending time working, 12 hours a day or whatever. I would still do this show, of course, because I enjoy it. But other than that, I think people don't need that much money. Like, there's a point where it's just like, what do you do with it? There's you already got a
it's just
house,
greed. It's just
right?
plain greed. Again, I literally know what it means to be hungry in the afternoon. The mega inflation when I was a kid, when the communism was falling, was a tough spot, rampant alcoholism and stuff like that. But still, if I was a girl, I wouldn't be where I am right now. My sister is literally struggling right now because she goes into a meeting and guys talk over her head because they think the girl doesn't know tech,
Right. Is she
which is
still
kind of
is she
insane.
still in Poland or is she here?
Yeah, she is.
All right, because that happens here too. I wasn't saying like, oh, if she was here,
Oh,
things would be
it's
different.
way,
But
way, way
yeah,
worse.
that's what I assumed. Yeah.
It's way worse. It's grandmas literally raising their grandsons as if they were golden gods, stepping over the fabric of reality, and the crowd should spread like Dead Sea before Moses and stuff like that.
What do you think? What do you think that what would it take for a country like Poland to change? Because it's people think European countries, and even when they think of like the Eastern European countries, I feel like Poland is like one of those that is sort of stuck in between. Like I know they're technically like an Eastern European country, right? But
It's Eastern European. People they say they are Central European, but it's Eastern European as fuck.
right. But way more people know about Poland than say know about like Latvia or Slovakia or Slovenia or something like that. So I feel like Poland is like sort of like, when I think of like the European countries, I'll throw out like Italy, France, and Poland is in that mix of like the big European countries in my view as an American, and maybe not all Americans view it that way. So like what would you think would it take for Poland to sort of not be like that and maybe get a little less right wing? Like, why is it so right wing? Is it because of
It's
its
just
history with
so
the USSR
so
and
it's actually
communism?
it's a communism. So Poland had a pope. John Paul II was literally the worst pope in Catholic Church's history, but he started serving in the 70s, or it was 60s, just to be a beacon versus communism. So everything that went in Catholic Church was in service of being the guiding light to fuck over the communism. So all the sexual misconduct stuff, everything was patted over in service. Communism must fall, and it became de facto procedure, and they went way too deep. After, again, in 89, after communism fell, the muscle memory stuck around, and it perforated because of that pope. And now he's a fucking saint, literally, which is kind of insane. So honestly, what should happen, some people need to die. They need to die of old age.
Right.
People that were raised by going to church 3 times a week because there was literally nothing else to do except for drinking vodka. It was church and vodka, nothing else. 2 pastimes. They literally need to die so they don't have any kind of influence.
Is there like a young, like, is there like a, because, it's sort of, it's again, not totally the equivalent, because again, I'm sure Poland is a lot worse right now, but I mean, so here the same thing where like, the older people all vote in much bigger numbers. And so you get a lot of older politicians who are out of touch and are more conservative. So I'm sure there is some like, overlap there in terms of what both countries are going through, but is there like a young people's movement in Poland for?
There is, but it's still minority rule because young people are not active politically. They just don't give a fuck. Right.
Same sort of here. Right.
The thing is, the interesting thing about right-wingness in Poland is that they are socially conservative. So no full-on abortion bans, Catholic crosses in schools and stuff like that, even though the constitution says otherwise. The Supreme Court was stuffed with cronies and things like that. But they are socially progressive. They are giving away social safety nets left and right, and they are essentially buying votes. And people that are quote unquote more privileged, that are basically the Polish equivalent of a PMC, professional managerial class, they feel it is quote unquote unfair to have progressive tax rate, which drives me fucking insane.
Right.
If I take 12% of your income, and it's a difference between you buying a nice car or nicer car. If you take 12% of income for someone that barely makes ends meet, it's a difference between them having food, having dinner or not having dinner. So you're fucking high horse.
Right.
Progressive tax, linear tax rates are literally regressive, and they. And
no, that's you're absolutely right. Obviously, yeah. I've
been listening to Sam a lot.
Right. Yeah. No, it's people
need to die. People need to get less dependent on Catholic Church. People get disassociated more and more. So honestly, it's going to be like a couple of decades.
Right. In terms of religion wise, is religion becoming less popular with the younger generations in Poland as well? Okay.
But it's still big tradition. Even though I went through apostasis, I basically excommunicated myself from church. I had Catholic wedding because it's tradition. It's not my belief, but it's a nice white dress and the old dude because church weddings are basically civil unions as well. You don't have to have two of those in most of Europe. So it was basically for tradition, not for beliefs, and people. It's just sticking around.
Right. Well, I'm sure at least the pierogies are good over there, right?
Yeah. The thing is, the secret for good pierogies is potatoes and cottage cheese and onion.
Oh, okay.
That's the secret. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can reheat them in your air fryer.
Ooh.
If you have an air fryer, you reheat them in it, and it's super crispy and delicious.
Oh, I'll have to. I don't have an.
Yeah, you can get the Trader Joe's ones that are pretty decent. Throw them into an air fryer, and you will fucking love it, dude.
I'll have to. First of all, I'll have to get an air fryer, and then that sounds good. I'll have to try that out. Thanks for the call. This was great in terms of again today. It's been like, and we're going all across the world. We got Dave from Jamaica. You're from Poland. We got John from Australia. It's been we're going around the world today. Thank you so much for the call. And
yeah, for sure. And me working in tech, I have so many crypto stories, dude.
You'll have to.
There are so many people for whom I lost respect because they went into the Ponzi horse. I had to prune half of my LinkedIn.
Right. Yes, that's probably. I have to get on LinkedIn and really check. I'm sure it's wild over there with the crypto stuff.
I was trying to figure out which publication you're at, and your photo in there you have a baby face in there, man.
I gotta I look a little bit younger.
You need to get a headshot.
Yes, that's an old photo. You're right. I mean, even my current Twitter photo is pretty old, although I probably look a little bit more like I do in that photo. I gotta get a new. I gotta log into LinkedIn first of all.
Yeah, you probably forgot that password or it got leaked.
Right.
So.
Right. How did you? Because this is your first time calling the show, I believe. How did you find out about the show?
So as I said, I in 2020 I started watching Hassan, and then I jumped to Majority Report after the. Steven Crowder ambush,
right?
Because it was so hilarious, and I started following you, Matlek and Brandon. And so you are basically a beneficiary of my Twitch Prime.
Oh, like thank
Because
you.
it's either that or some dumb gaming stream. So
Oh, well, I really appreciate that. Can I ask you one more question?
yeah.
How did you discover Hassan?
Honestly, I started getting interested in politics a little bit, and Hassan was so obnoxious that it was a good background noise, sitting doing some kind of coding or tech stuff as a background sound, and I got quote unquote radicalized.
Oh, good. No, listen, Hassan's got a very important place in the hierarchy of online media in politics. So,
Oh hell yeah!
yes, it's very important that he, he's as big as he is, and brings people down the rabbit hole, but the good rabbit hole, the
Yeah, I think
progressive.
he was one of like two people that single-handedly killed off Andrew Tate's career, quote unquote career.
Right. Yeah. Apparently, arguing that women can't drive in a very serious manner, not even defending it and hiding behind the "ha ha, I'm just joking." Isn't apparently isn't a good move for your career.
So there is a
apparently.
litmus test for the Andrew Tate heads. You should ask one: why do they think women wear makeup? If the answer is to be attractive to men, it's they are basically red pilled, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the call. Definitely, please. Please call in again. This was great. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Have a great night. All right, let's call it a night. I think. Let's call it a night. We're 2 hours in. I think a little bit over 2 hours. I think I'm feeling good. I'm not at the point where I'm tired at all, which means for the best. All right, Omega's calling in. It seems. Do I do it? All right, really quick. Hey, is this Omega?
Yes, it is.
Hey, you are the final caller. Give me a quick call, the perfect type of call to end the night. What would you like to talk about?
Well, since this is kind of the religious episode, I kind of have a touch more of a different experience from like the previous people, I will say. Because I was raised Catholic myself, like you, but I was also part of a youth group myself. And that was me like for a while, like coming out of high school. And I even became kind of a leader there. But then, stuff happened. Eventually, I met my wife and blah, 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 blah. But long story short, I did see some of this, like just a lot of the fakeness kind of started to push me more towards the agnostic side, I would say. Like how in some of the groups they're like severely judgmental. And then a lot of the people, sadly, because they didn't necessarily, I mean, in some ways they weren't too judgmental, in other ways they were. But like a sizable amount of like the female members that would be there, and sometimes they would get pregnant early on instead of like, holding on to it, which kind of almost flies in the face of what they kind of try to promote.
All my in high school, all of my Catholic school friends were way more got in way more trouble and were way more fucked up than my public school friends. Absolutely, easily.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, some of them had like lives that led them to that, and then they probably became better people from it, which is totally fine. And some of them, I'm not gonna lie to you, as a Dominican man, I could kind of see some like the toxic traits that kind of were allowed to have, and then some of them were kind of like, yeah, they were just allowed to like ferment in there, and then like nobody necessarily absolutely like corrected them when they stepped outside of the doors of our like youth group, pretty much. So we'll say that. And then there was like the whole angle of like, there were some members that were definitely LGBTQ people and we knew it. And then, but they weren't too like, judgmental about it. And they even got to become leaders in the group or whatever. And then they were like actually good at like, they were good with like any kids or whatever that were there. And they were good at like just making sure that they were okay and stuff like that. And then, having a good relationship with like even their families and stuff, which is okay. Which kind of also says a lot about like how.
Where did you?
I mean,
where did you grow up?
Queens myself.
Oh, then you know what? I think it when it comes to like your religious experience, your experience with organized religion, I think definitely is dependent on also where you live. And obviously, Catholics in New York are going to be a little bit more progressive than Catholics in maybe to the extent they exist in like a red state, like in the South or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say so too. Yeah, I do believe that because like I do kind of get like because after having worked long enough in the service industry, obviously there would be tourists, whatever, and they were a kind of different way. Even though they were like, "Oh God, oh yeah, Jesus Christ, the Lord, blah blah blah, brother," all that crap. They kind of gave me the vibes of like they still had like some bigotry about them that like for some weird reason they thought would work well with their mentality of like being religious or whatever. But it's like, hey, you're supposed to be more open-minded because at the end of the day, who you like the people you have read about are not white people. They're not white Americans at all. None of that shit. Like they're all, for the most part, all these Abrahamic religions, they take place in the Middle East because that's where it's all coming from. So it's one of
Right.
those situations.
Right. Thanks for the call, Mega. Have a great night.
So
Oh wait, you completely, Y'all, you broke up completely. I don't even hear you anymore.
oh, sorry, my
That's why I was saying I thought I thought you'd finish, which is why I was saying good night. Hello?
all right, there we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
better.
What were you saying? I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there.
It was just it was just like those people that like the ones in the South like were definitely the ones that were a touch more hypocritical in some ways because they would just be flying in the face of like a lot of the messages that are supposed to be promoted there because it's like they're going to be the ones talking about anti-gay stuff, but they're going to forget about the whole thing about like, oh, love thy neighbor type of stuff. Like they're going to easily just toss that away if they feel like they othering somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like whereas in here like depends where you are, but if it's like maybe an older person, especially sadly like older folks that were immigrants that kind of like weren't totally on board with some certain things of now, they'll be the ones to be like, well, I don't think a gay person will probably say heaven and blah 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 blah. Whereas in the youth group, like they have no problem with anybody gay pretty much. Although they'll casually sometimes say at one point be like, oh, they're gonna let gay people married. Are we gonna defend our faith against that? It's like, but that doesn't do anything to harm us. I don't like I wanted to outright just like burst out and say that's like that doesn't hurt anybody. They just want to have as normal of a life as possible, and you guys are trying to stop that. It's
Right.
like, come on.
Right.
Or how like really just like scared of abortion that they are that they let people just get pregnant early on or whatever. And it's like, no, because now they have to literally. It's like they had a table full of stuff going on in motion, and then they literally had to like throw everything off a table and then put a whole battle plan about like how they're gonna raise this child that they now know they're gonna have.
Right.
It's like you cannot like tell people like you cannot tell people to not have autonomy over their bodies and then but you're gonna also kind of condemn them here and there in a judgmental tone in regards to like, oh, they shouldn't have had a kid. It's like, yeah, maybe they shouldn't have been too like I'm not gonna tell somebody not to like screw around or whatever. And maybe some people just shouldn't screw around when they're that young yet. But at the end of the day, like you also didn't give them any choices as to an alternative, and also is just yeah, you just like not teaching these people like all the way through, and then you're not telling them, hey, listen, you're supposed to take some of this with you, but in the positive way, and the kind of like, oh, I'm just not gonna do like you know just gonna put myself through all this like nonsense of like, oh, I'm just gonna like screw around and go to the club with my people that I go to church with, quote unquote, and then we're all gonna smoke hookah and do this all this stuff. Oh, I'm pregnant now, I can't do this. Or if it's the guys, they're gonna be like, they don't care if they like treat women like garbage outside of that, because then they're gonna go in within those doors and they're an okay person again.
Right.
No.
Right. Oh wait, sorry to interrupt you, Mega. We just got raided from what is it? Who raided us? I'm looking right now. Is it Wrath Rathbone or Rath81? I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know if the 8 is supposed to be
I think
a
it's
B.
Rathbone. I think I know what you're talking
Rathbone.
about.
Yes, thank you so much, Rathbone, and hello to Rathbone's viewers. Welcome to the show. This is my name is Matt Binder, and this is the night I do my anti-crypto show, Scam Economy, and this is the Scam Economy post show. We did some crypto talk earlier, but now we got a whole conversation because I take calls during the post show, and people can talk about anything, not necessarily just crypto. We got a whole conversation going on about religion from a bunch of callers tonight. And Omega was just telling me about his own personal experience. Thanks for the call, Omega. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm really looking forward to like the CM Punk AEW stuff because it's a lot of drama. I'm just like very curious about it. But like you already kind of gave your like 2 cents about it, but I wonder how this is gonna unfold going into like the rest of the year and shit.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Punk. Who stays, who goes?
Yeah, I think I know who's gonna go at this point because they're kind of more cool with Coco Bena, so I have a feeling. And also the fact, and you mentioned that this year's flying by. Honestly, if you're a parent, like the last half of the year, as soon as summer ends, that's it. It's gonna be gone in like a minute because it's all those holidays that are crammed in, and then that's just what it
Yes.
is.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's how
Like
it's
I'm already
feeling for
kind of
me
gearing
right
up for
now with the
Halloween
kids,
at this
right?
point.
Yes. I already got the Halloween decorations up.
Yep, spooky season.
Yeah, I love it though. Halloween's my fave.
Yeah,
Have a great
I'm
night.
getting into the spirit too.
Yeah, have a great night, Omega.
You take care.
All right. You know what I will do? I was just about to wrap it up for the night, but being that we got some Raiders, I'll do one more call. And then I'll no super chats over on YouTube tonight. That's a rarity. Not a single one. I got spoiled the last couple episodes, I guess, where we had some big money to super chatters dropping, making it rain on me with their 10, 20. I think there was even a $50 or $100 super chat a show or two ago. Yeah, I'll do who's calling in? Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, I can't hear you. I'm pretty sure it's Emmy on the line here, but Emmy, I don't hear you.
Turned off everything.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Oh my goodness, there you are. Hold on, but I can't hear you. Stupid Skype. Skype, no.
I'm gonna give you. I'll give you a second, Emmy. I'll give you a second to see if you can fix this.
Settings.
Camera, otherwise I gotta let you go. But
settings.
Rathbone viewers who are in since the raid.
No, Skype. Why would you do this to me?
Make sure you subscribe to not subscribe, follow the Twitch channel. You could subscribe if you'd like to, but you just joined me. I'm not gonna ask you for money and your Twitch Prime subscriptions right away. But you could follow me, that's free, and that way you'll make sure you catch my streams whenever I stream. And definitely please go check out Rathbone's Twitch channel if you this is me talking to my viewers now. And you know what? I gotta make sure I'm following Rathbone so when I raid in the next time I can make sure I give them a raid as well. I like to share the raid love. Oh, Emmy, hey, you hear me?
I can't hear you now.
Perfect. I had you on mute just so I could talk to the viewers and they could hear me. Hey, Emmy. I see you're using video.
Well
Do you want me to pull you up on the feed?
By all means, let's do this.
Awesome. What would you like to talk about?
Oh my gosh, I took notes. I have so much.
Ooh.
I have so much.
Well, if you have if you have let's try to keep this to like.
Yeah, no.
10 minutes.
We'll
and that's
we'll
a lot.
Keep it short. We'll keep it short here. because apparently I erased the notes somehow. So there was a lot. There was a lot there. Okay, Disney, Disney's big. They have so many sins. But that Pinocchio, that's not even the real Pinocchio story. That's not even the real Peter Pan, play.
Oh no, Emmy! All of a sudden, I'm hearing.
Uh-oh, are you hearing something else?
Oh, okay, hold on. Something was playing in my speaker. It was my end, not yours. Go ahead. Go ahead with your Disney. I can hear you now. My bad.
I'm just, Disney adaptations are shit. I mean, people don't understand all the time that like Pocahontas, which is real, and they totally, but it's not just Pocahontas. It's even Peter Pan, even Pinocchio. They've changed it so dramatically from what the original play or book is.
I do like the Disney adaptations. They have a place, I think.
I can't. I have a big problem with
the Pocahontas one isn't great.
Is unforgivable.
Yes, but
sure.
I do like I do like Pinocchio. Actually, I do like their version of Pinocchio.
There's a great Italian miniseries that's so much better.
I like their version of Peter Pan too.
No. Now, see, on Peter Pan is queer coded as all hell, and they erased the queer coding out of Peter Pan, and that's a point of ire with me. I'm a big fan of the original play. It's amazing.
It's a very underrated Disney movie, I think, but they obviously changed it a lot, and this one they had to be more kid-friendly, I guess. But even their version isn't so kid-friendly. The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oof, Have you seen the Charles Lawton movie? Have you seen the Charles Lawton movie?
A long time ago. But Disney's version, if you remove the gargoyle characters from the Disney version, you have a solid movie there. The gargoyles ruin it,
and then remove all the songs, and you've got
the songs in that movie. Are you kidding?
There.
Check out Frollo's song in Hunchback. Hellfire.
Well, I'm just talking about
Hellfire.
As far as plot.
You should.
I'm talking about as far as plot.
That's the most metal Disney song. That's the most metal song you might ever hear in a children's movie ever. Actually, It is insane.
I'm not talking about that. I'm saying once you remove the songs, which are great, but that's not not gonna contribute to the plot or the
And you know what?
Or the character development.
The Hunchback movie actually might also be the most adult of the Disney animated movies, simply because Frollo is a villain driven by. Again, he's in the movie. He's a minister. He's religious. He's a religious leader, and he is driven by his lust for Esmeralda after seeing her in provocative clothing and dancing provocatively. And he's literally a villain who's singing about either Esmeralda lets him have her or he will destroy her and everybody else. It is I did not get all that stuff when I watched it back in '96 when it came out.
But you clearly have kids.
And then I rewatched it with my kids very recently, and I was like, "Oh my God, this movie is amazing! How did people not? How did I miss this as a kid? Frollo actually might be the most evil Disney villain, and people sleep on him because he's not, I guess, one of the classics, I don't know, Captain Hook or what's her face from Sleeping Beauty. Oh my God, I'm having a mental block. Angelina Jolie just played her. I can't remember right now. Not even just played her. Angelina Jolie plays her in her movies. No, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
All I have to say is just go. Maybe you should also go and rewatch the Charles Lawton one and give that one another shot. Now that you're more familiar with it,
it's a very depressing story. It's very sad.
The Charles Lawton
story.
One gets me right there every time. So I feel you. It's not what I called to talk about, but I love it.
Maleficent! Thank you. That's the villain from.
It is, of course, Chat knows.
Yes.
I'm sure Chat was all over that. I'm sure they're all over better Disney films or something, which is not really at all what I called to talk about. I did kind of call to talk about Disney erasing the queer coding from Peter Pan, because that's something that I feel like isn't talked about a lot, and more people should know about that. And the original play is which comes before the book, because it's a play first and then a book. And then
what I remember, well, usually in Disney movies, the queer coding is inserted into the villain.
Well, right, but in this, Peter Pan is played by a woman first and foremost, which presents a lot of gender norm breaking weirdness and other stuff that goes on.
Peter Pan is usually, at least when it's done in the theater. I mean, even
always played by well, traditional, like the writer J.M. Barrie was very specific about that as an intentional decision, and that's written into it's basically written into the play.
Right, and even NBC did it in their live action Peter Pan show with Brian Williams' daughter, who, quite frankly, is probably deserves. I can't remember her name, and because I'm in politics, that's how I know her. But she, quite frankly, is worthy of me knowing her name way more than her father is. So I'm sorry, Brian Williams' daughter. I've enjoyed your work, Brian Williams' daughter.
Well, if you want to see the real Peter Pan, go watch the silent movie version, which you can find for free. I put that up on YouTube even, but the silent movie version has the best performance of a man playing a dog you've ever seen in your life.
What do you think?
A man in a dog suit that plays a dog convincingly. That's incredible.
What do you think? What do you think of Hook? Because for me, Hook was like a defining movie. No, I thought it was a defining movie. I mean, I still think a defining movie of my childhood. I still think it's a fantastic movie. But I was shocked to learn
it's well made.
I was shocked to learn that it actually didn't do good when it came out. I always thought it was
it flopped hard when it came out.
Everyone in my age group who I know growing up looked at that movie as like a defining childhood movie. Would constantly reference it. Rufio.
If I'm being honest with you, I don't like that movie. I think it's a piece of crap. It probably didn't deserve to bomb as bad as it did.
Robin Williams is fantastic in that movie.
It probably didn't deserve to bomb as bad as it did. Like, even though I don't like it personally, like, it didn't deserve to bomb as bad as it did. Like, it just got some movies, they just they come out and everybody decides that they're gonna prejudge it beforehand and all that. But I called to talk about religion a little bit, even though I feel like everybody's kind of harped on that a lot. And there was a lot of things. First of all, I just want to say, Wanda, if you're still listening, if you're still here, you're amazing. That call was great. Please call in again. I think chat totally exploded and loved you, just so you know. On the first caller, there was so much I wanted to say. I wanted to say about how all religions don't believe in first of all, I don't know if they're still listening, but I don't believe in a super god being, a super sky dude or whatever. I don't believe in life after death. Okay. I'm not on that train. Okay. But there are plenty of religions that also don't believe in God or gods. There are plenty of religions that aren't concerned with life after death, that have nothing to do with that. I know they're not the prevalent, but also, I know it depends on where you live in Houston. Caller said they were living in Houston, and I've been in Houston. I know what it's like, but Houston is also one of the 5 largest cities in America, and because of that has an immensely huge gay population and all sorts of different. There's there's activism galore. There's culture galore of different types of culture. I mean, that's where I went growing up, and went to all sorts of different mosques and synagogues and temples, and visited every kind of church that there was in Houston. And Houston, you can do that because it has just that much of an array of cultures. So I know it can seem like that Christian pervasionism is, it's just so pervasive. But really, the caller was talking about dominionism, fundamentalist Christians, and kind of what do we do about that, and what do we do about dominionism Christians in politics and stuff, and like that's kind of what I wanted to call and address. And like, he started talking about when you're at the dinner table and somebody wants to pray and being like, no, like, and like, I don't believe in that. I'm not comfortable with that. And there's a certain part of me that's very much like, you should speak up if you're uncomfortable with that in some ways. But also strategically, I feel like the best thing to do is to hold them to better standards. Hold them to better standards, force them to hold their clergy to better standards, and by the same token, the clergy needs to stand up to its, if you are supposedly a good good Christian clergyman or whatever, you should be standing up to the bigotry and so forth, and not falling in line with the fundamentalism and all that. And so be, that person in your family that's a Christian, hold them accountable and be like, well, I would be a Christian. You wouldn't be a Christian, whatever. But I would be a Christian, but like, I can't find any churches that have a bunch of real Christians in them. Show me a church with show me people who actually live by Christian values. I don't know that you necessarily live by Christian values. Hold them to account, make them be better, just better themselves, because they're not going to give up their Christianity. They're not going to give up their religion. They're not going to give up that. That's the end game. If you're going for that, that's going to take years to get down that path and to get them to give that up. Okay, and that's another quest entirely. But just get them to hold them responsible, hold their clergy responsible, etc. Demand from their fellow Christians, like, hey, we've got to get better. This person up here, this mega pastor, he's just there to line his pockets and get rich off you, and on top of that preaches a bunch of hate and shit. Like, you've got to hold them accountable. And so the best way to do that is you present yourself as their ally. You present yourself, it's kind of a fishing game in some ways, and you don't have to necessarily lie about who you are and what you think and what you believe, but you do, you can, carrot versus stick and all that.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. No, I think well said. Really well said. I'm sure a lot of people's views of this, like that caller earlier, obviously heavily influenced by their own personal experiences. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Which I have in Houston, and there's lots of places in Houston I fear to tread. Absolutely.
Right.
I wouldn't be caught, alive in. to put it, and especially just outside of Houston, there's places that are just downright scary. So it really does depend. It depends on your community and the people who you surround yourself with, and what who you interact with, and all that. But also, if those people are in your and they are reachable or whatever, like if they're in your family and they're at the, there's someone, like you said, who's at the dinner table and they want to pray or whatever, pull them aside and have a talk with them about, like, hey, your Christianity, like, I need it to be doing good for us, doing good for the country, doing good for yourselves. One of the things that boggles me about this whole world is it's so divisive all the time, and like, I feel like, okay, like the super rich, they want to get super rich and they want to have what's the goal of being super rich is to make your life like super comfortable and super enjoyable, right? Like if you're like you don't have any worries, you don't have any problems, but like also you've if by being rich you've crippled the rest of the world so much, guess what? Everywhere you go isn't going to be that nice. America isn't going to be that nice of a place. People aren't going to be like nice to each other, holding the doors. If everybody's fucking comfortable and happy and doing good, they're just going to be holding the door open for each other. And everywhere you go, people are going to be happy and smiling and have love in their hearts. That's a great place to live in. That's how you make your life better. That's how you make the world a better place to live in for you, is by making the world a better place to live in for all the people surrounding you. Because if everybody around you is happy, I mean, shit, that should be the end goal right there.
Yeah.
I'm always asking, who are you helping? You know, who are you helping? Who does this help?
All right.
Anyways,
No, I think you are.
go
I
off
mean,
on.
I think I've said something similar. Honestly, like we're here for the time we are here. It's a very short period of time in the big picture, and so why wouldn't you just want to live a life that is good and doesn't harm anyone else, and just this doesn't make any sense to me. But I guess I don't have the minds. I don't have that grind, that
The
hustle,
grind
that hustle
mindset.
grind, gorilla mindset.
Oh, I never even got around to the, I keep meaning to get around to like I bought crypto once. I've never even gotten to tell you that. I bought crypto once, way back.
That's
Not
fine.
not
I mean,
that
I
much.
have too. It's
I made some money off of it even.
ooh.
I made about like $50 off of it or so. Put in 100, took out
Whoa,
150,
whoa! You made $50.
left.
Whoa, ho, ho,
I know,
big
right?
time.
Big giants. Woo! $50. I know. And then left $10 in there just to see how that shitty $10 would, because I was like, this is gonna be fun. And I think I looked now and it's like worth like $2.12 or
Hey,
something like that.
you got
At
out though.
$10 I left in there.
You got out
Yeah,
though.
I did get out. What a scam.
Ah,
Oh,
thanks,
all right.
thanks for
Yeah, I
the
think I'll,
yeah.
there's a bunch of other stuff I wrote down to talk about and say about Game of Thrones and all other bullshit and punk rock bands I wanted you to listen to and stuff. I'm just gonna encourage. Can I plug some of my shit? Can I plug my Patreon, Matt?
Oh, of course. Yeah, please.
All right. Well, I have a Patreon now where I run my radio show, and it'll be a at least monthly, sometimes bi-weekly affair of radio shows that I will post there. And that Patreon is Martian Invasion. Super easy to remember or whatever. But it's kind of going to be my hub for like for like all the stuff that I do, because I do a Wednesday stream now for Dumb Industries on their Discord, and I do all sorts of like I have a stream on Vaughn on Sundays that I run, and a lot and my band Ghost Candy, and so all that stuff is linked through my Patreon. I even have a broke as fuck. I can say that. That's right. I can say
You
that.
can, yes,
I have a
please.
broke as fuck $2 tier for those of you who are broke as fuck and just want to tip and show their love or whatever. If you want to throw in the $2 tier, please, by all means. I would be honored and delighted. But just had to plug that.
Say where people can find it one more time to make sure everyone.
It's the Patreon is Martian Invasion, Martian, Martian, like as in someone from Mars, and then invasion, as in I'm going to invade your earwaves with lots of music and craziness and all sorts of other stuffs. So sometimes thematically based, and there's a prototype up there, but the real show is coming out in a few days. So, but I do have a prototype pilot show up there. So,
All right. Everyone check out Emmy's work, folks. Regular caller of the show. Always a pleasure to talk with Emmy. And again, I feel like everyone is on fire tonight. Thank you so much, Emmy, as always.
It was a great night. Thank you for fitting me in at the end. I really appreciate that.
Oh, no problem. I mean, you delivered, so it was worth it.
Aw, all right. Well, y'all take care, and yeah, I love the chat. I love you, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Peace
Have a great
and
night.
all that jazz. All right, ciao.
All right. Emmy was going to be the last call, but I was asked by this person if he could be the last call. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
It is someone in Nebraska. I need to keep this confidential.
Oh my God, who is this guy on my screen right now?
Yeah, I'm a random boogaloo boy, I think is what you've called me in the past. So,
Right, because you're wearing your Hawaiian shirt. First of all, I actually didn't even realize that you're wearing this very obvious, bright, colored, loud Hawaiian shirt because I am distracted by your gamer chair in the background there.
yes.
It's got
Everybody, I've got
RGB
LEDs.
lighting. Yes. Wow. That's new, right? When did you get that? Or you had that for a while and never showed me?
When I got it a few weeks ago, Trump may have gotten our gasoline down to $1, but Biden got our corn up to $7. So, I mean, push and pull, push and pull. Yeah, no one can explain to me how $5 gas is Biden's fault, but he doesn't get the credit for $7 corn.
Is
I
that
don't
is
know.
that is that the talking points going on in Nebraska right now?
Yeah, a lot of people brought that kind of stuff up. So, I've been making my points to it. And that usually, when you bring up the gasoline thing and then the crop price thing, it usually gets people to stop and think like you just shattered their worldview. So that's always fun. But real quick, with that second caller you had tonight who was talking like I think David said it was like 2010 radical atheist stuff. I would not use that as a talking point at all because politically it's very toxic. And from like a practical historical level, it's not true. Like you think of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John Brown, these were the most like probably progressive leaders of their times, and they used a lot of radical religious imagery, and a lot of that I view more or less just like calling on like those cultural ties. Like when Dwight D. Eisenhower said that we were about to engage in this noble crusade to liberate Europe from, Nazis, everybody in their mind knew what he meant by that. Like I view it more or less just like a shorthand for a lot of culture. But like you're also talking about trying to shatter worldviews that people hold. And when it comes to climate change, I think most people that don't care about climate change just have a poor understanding of like science in general, and that can happen across the board. I mean, if you want to get down to like a religious argument on it, God commanded you in Genesis to be good stewards of the earth. He sent you wise men that have told you of change. You're a heretic if you do not save his planet. Like pretty straightforward, simple. And you can't logic people out of an illogical frame of mind that they're in. So don't try. It's not worth. So, and these people can vote, so they have power. You can't just ignore them. That's not how that works.
Right.
So that would be my point to that. So just be careful.
No, that is a great point to make, honestly.
Yeah. Plus, if we're going to save the planet, wouldn't you like to have the fanatics on your side? Think about it, folks. Think about it.
Right. Yes. Using use them to your advantage.
Exactly. There's strength in numbers. I mean, that, and for the most part, most of this has more to do with power dynamics and stuff. Like, why do so many people who are conservatives support, like, abortion and whatnot? Because, it will uphold the social order that privileges them over others, and it helps their power base. Like, that's it. There's not really a money reason for it. It's just to maintain power. I mean, like, if people want to say religion's all bad, just look at the Crusades. The Crusades was just a power thing between the Byzantine emperor and the Pope. The Pope wanted more power. The Byzantine emperor was in a weakened position, and they used religion as an excuse to rally the knights of France, basically. So, I mean, even that in of itself was not really a religious thing. It was just they used religion as part of this greater geopolitical struggle. I mean, that's how most of that stuff comes down. So don't shorthand and say that, oh, religion's the source of all evil. It's not. For the most part, it's just corruption and money, all, the good stuff.
Right.
And
Right.
you need them fanatics on your side.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I agree.
But all right, it's late. I was going to make this short, got my Hawaiian shirt. I've stabbed that shirt because that's not me. Gotta love these things.
Kowalski, thank you so much for providing a highly entertaining and informative last call of the night. I really appreciate it.
Damn
as
it. I was
always.
trying to keep this as my disguise is now blown. Like, why
Oh,
even
right. This
try?
whole time we
God
didn't.
damn it.
You didn't mention you were Kowalski. I didn't mention. Wow, I just blew it for you. I'm sorry. It is to the point. You're right. It is at the point where I think I'm now getting tired. Have a great night, Kowalski.
You too.
Take
Good night,
care.
everybody.
That was a great call, though. Very funny. All right, folks. That is the show for tonight. Let me quickly read a few super chats came in. Daredevil with a super chat. I'll have to call in sometime soon to dispute the misinformation Matt Walsh was spreading. Oh, we talked about that in the Majority Report earlier about the Little Mermaids, Matt Walsh's Little Mermaid rant. Counting Amber Jacks with a super chat. Love you, buddy. Great show. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Over on Twitch, Rylan86, thank you for the 1 month tier sub. Again, Wrathbone, thank you so much for the raid. Oh, also thinking that while I read these, think who should I raid on Twitch now when I end the show? Who am I raiding? Dom3L with a resubscription on Twitch Prime, a subscriber for 5 months. Left is best. Thank you, Dom3L. Don James 1676 with the cheer of 100 bits. Thank you. 8 Evo 5 subscribe with Prime. Thank you so much. Media Offline TV subscribe with Prime. Thank you. Aaron Baum subscribe with Prime. Thank you. Warm Bug subscribe with Prime. Thank you. Nug Wrangler resubscribe with Prime. Subscriber for 9 months. Wow. Thank you so much. Spocko resubscribe with Prime. Subscriber for 3 months. Woohoo, my 3-month anniversary on Twitch, says Spocko. Thank you so much, my friend. Antifa Super Agent, subscribe with Prime. Robot Monkey Cat, 10-month subscriber, resubscribed for 1 month at Tier 1. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for subscribing via Twitch Prime. Be sure to do so if you have an Amazon Prime account. All you got to do is connect your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and you get a free Twitch Prime subscription every month. You could give it to your favorite Twitch creator. Hopefully that's me. If it's not, I understand. Just give it to someone. Don't let Amazon and Jeff Bezos keep your free Twitch Prime subscription. Make them pay for it to your favorite creator. And of course, thank you to everyone who followed the Twitch channel from Wrathbone's Raid. As always, patreon.com/MattBinder. It's been a extremely slow month, probably the slowest month since 2020, since the show started to gain a not like a large following, but a progressively larger following every month. Definitely the slowest month so far since that. So if you can, patreon.com/MattBinder to become a Patreon subscriber and become a patron. Let's see, who am I going to send people to over on Twitch. Who should Tammy Q, Amy EC3. I've rated Amy last show, so I'm gonna give it to someone different. Wrath Black, Zalia, Wrath, Armorath. Oh no, that's some. Well, they're not gonna notice the raid. Tammy, who's Tammy Q? Let's see. I wanna raid someone who's who I haven't raided, and is someone who can use the raid. Tammy Q is not. Oh wait, they are on. Why was it not showing for me? Why can't I watch their stream? I want to see if it's Are they a political streamer or lefty streamer? What are they? What's their deal? Andrew Kowalski is asking for me to rate his mom. Raid Jimmy Dore, says Mecca. That is funny. I should raid Jimmy Dore one day. All right, who am I raiding? Give me someone to raid. I feel like I've raided Time for Tinfoil before. Wait, is your mom's a mom streamer for real? Have I rated Time for Tinfoil before? I don't think so. Amara says def raid Mar-a-Lago. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, see, Digimanair said that too first, I think. Raid Mar-a-Lago. That's a good one. I like that. I'm going to steal that and start saying that. Who's on? No one. People are saying who I should raid, but I don't see anyone. IZ? Are they even on? I'm not seeing IZ show up. Stardust? Who's that? Oh, let's do this. Is Keffels on with Stardust, or is Stardust watching a Keffels? Wait, not Stardust. Who's Stardust? I'm so out of the loop. Is Stardust watching Keffels, or does Keffels on because they are a fan of Echoplex? I've been on Echoplex Media a long time ago. Sure, I'll do Echoplex. I've not. Clambake says Stardust attacks Keffels. I believe she is a Destiny Orbiter weirdo if I have the right person. Well, I definitely do not want to raid someone who is anti-Keffels, because I'm a big fan of Keffels. I'll do Time for Tinfoil. That's it. That's a new one, I think. I'll do Time for Tinfoil. Oh, thank you, Counting Amberjacks, for resubscribing Tier 1. Subscribe for 2 months. Thank you so much. And oh, Rylan86 gifted a 1 month tier subscription. Thank you so much. All right, who am I? All right, let me do a poll. Let me do a poll here. Let's see. You guys are going to tell me who I'm rating right now. Here we go. Ready? I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to set up a poll. It's going to be a very short poll, so get ready for it. New poll. Who should I raid? Echoplex. Time for tinfoil. Who else? Who else am I putting in this poll here? That's all I see. Wait, who's Pineapple? Who's Pineapple Hoops? Okay, they are doing a hula hooping. Okay. Not quite my thing, but cool. Jason Society. I'll put Jason Society on the poll. All right, here we go. 1 month. 1 month. What am I saying? 1 minute poll right now. Whoever wins the poll, I'm just rating right away. Here we go. The poll is on right now. Time is running out. Quick. Quick. 3 people are in. 4 people are in. 7, 8. 8 people. 9 people. 10. Oh, it's going to be not close at all. Still about half a minute to go. Time for tinfoil easily taking the lead. What's going to happen? Ten seconds. Oh yeah, it's this is an easy one here. Not even close. Time for tinfoil gets the raid. Not even close. Ouch. But I will, of course, raid those other people because they're all great. All great. Everyone's great. I just was trying to figure out who to raid right now. It's not the end of the chance to be raided. All right, where is this? Let's do this right now. Let's raid. Starting this raid. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the support. Once again, patreon.com/MattBinder. Hope you enjoyed the show. I will see you all next time on Doomed on Tuesday. And then, next week, Scam Economy will probably be on Friday night. Got some things to do on Wednesday night and Thursday night. So Scam Economy will probably be on Friday night next week. Doomed will be on Tuesday as usual. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. And I will see you all next week on Doomed and Scam Economy.